Hey guys, my name's Gabe D. Welcome to my channel. Today, my friends and I are going to be making a tier list with all the Star Wars movies and TV shows that we've seen. Please stick around for the whole video. Let me know what you think we got right, what you think we got wrong. Leave all your opinions in the comments, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
We're going to get started here with a Star Wars tier list. This time it's going to be all the movies and all of the shows.
All
as you
of
guys,
them.
As you guys can see here, we have this haven't seen section, which also is going to contain things that just aren't canon, like Star Wars Visions and whatever this is. I'm assuming that's not canon. I don't know. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing. We're going to spend most of the time on the stuff that we've all seen, which is all the main stuff, all the stuff that we really are here for. Episode 1 is a bit tough for me. I will say right now, to preface this, all three of us were born from 1998 to 2003, so that's literally, we're prequels kids. Like, we grew up with these movies. I like these movies, and I think
them.
Episode 1 is a solid B tier.
I agree. Wholeheartedly agree. I don't really have much to
Yeah, you go there and give your takes. Why is it a B?
Okay, well, I don't really have much to complain about. I mean, it's slow, but I personally am a huge fan of slow burn things. Most of my favorite stories and television series and movies are slow burn, and I personally really enjoy it. There's a lot of politics, but it's really story building. And I think without a lot of the politics, you just have a crummy, like, generic action space movie, which you don't get with Episode 1. Story-wise, I think it was fantastic.
It does complement the original trilogy very well and how things start to fall.
And I love the characters, the introduction of Obi Wan and as a youngling, not youngling, but youngin.
Padawan.
And Qui-Gon. Like, the Qui-Gon is only in this movie, and he is one of the most glorified and fan-favorited characters ever in Star Wars.
Right.
Let alone Darth Maul, who went on to do what Darth Maul did. I think the movie's just solid.
I want to give a little
bit
bit of my breakdown really quick. Like, I've been back and forth on this movie, but I kind of want to double down on what Aaron said. George Lucas had a vision when creating this movie.
That's what I'm saying.
He had a plan, and you can totally see it start to unravel. Like, does it give you everything you want from a Star Wars movie? Probably not. It does have slow moments. It has a lot of exposition dumping, a lot of dialogue that, you need to be paying attention, or else you'll, miss things. A lot of people didn't like the introduction of the midichlorians. Personally, that's what I grew up with.
I forgot about that.
I don't even care.
That is a big reason why a lot of people don't like the prequels, especially I think older people.
Yep,
which I never had an issue with it.
Right.
I never really.
I didn't really know about it. It was just kind of like there for me. Right. It's like you have to be born to be a Jedi. I don't know what was assumed before that. I guess like anyone could learn the Force. It's just really hard.
Well, that's now canonically confirmed, is that you can learn to use the Force. Ahsoka canonically confirmed that.
So you don't need midichlorians.
It still has to do with midichlorians, I think, but I think there's another way to get there.
Yeah, you have to be born with midichlorians, I believe, to wield the Force.
Well, also, here's the thing. Star Wars is kind of fucked up canonically right now. Disney's
we don't really know what is and isn't.
So
yeah, they're changing the way things work.
Let's not get there yet. Well, that's a different conversation for later.
But that's not affecting our rating. Like, we don't.
Correct.
It made sense to us. Like, like you have to be born with the superpowers or whatever.
Correct.
It's like super rare. It works.
I actually like that more. I like that. I think that's an addition to this story of Star Wars and the Jedi. It's like you have to be born with it. Like, something, calls from above to give the Force to these people that are like chosen type shit. It's kind of cool. But
yeah, it works.
To go on, one of the most iconic villains of all time. Sure, I would have loved to see more of him too, just like anybody else. But we do later on, and that's good. And I honestly think he left his mark on this movie. Like, he was incredible. Also, Qui-Gon. Who doesn't love Qui-Gon? This is a fantastic performance by Liam Neeson. Qui-Gon's one of my all-time favorite Jedis, and I'm pretty sure I speak for William and Aaron when I say that too.
Yeah, you speak for everybody.
Yeah,
Everyone likes Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon's a legend.
I'd like
Young
to
Obi-Wan is good.
Introduces Darth Maul, which becomes one of the most interesting and influential characters in a lot of the other future shows or film.
Also, some of the best music and some of the best fighting sequences.
Oh my god!
Specifically,
I was literally saying, when I said I'd like to add, I was gonna say the compositional aspect was phenomenal. Like, that's what you look for in music or in movies with music, is for music to enhance what's going on. You know, not to make it not just to be there to make it less boring, but to be there to make it more beautiful. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that and the Duel of the Fates with the fight at the end. I do wish we would see more choreography like that in Star Wars films. I feel like nowadays they just really don't give, like, they don't care at all about making the fight scenes look good. It's something we'll see in the prequels, and even the original trilogy is not that bad. Somehow it's gotten a lot worse, and I guess they just don't really care to train actors to I don't know, sword fight and look like they're actually shooting the gun right. But
I don't really understand.
Not all effects are already done this.
That hate on like the heavily choreographed lightsaber fights of the prequels. I think it adds so much.
People hate on
to the skill of the Jedi and the fact that you can literally see them using the Force to predict each other's movements. It's like a dance, right? It's like it's incredible to watch, and I don't like the new kind of fighting style where it kind of just feels very boring.
Yeah. Overall, I'll give a little bit of my takes. We've been on this for a while, so I'll just keep it quick. The reason why it's probably not A tier is one, it is a little slow, right? It is, I would say, A tier as far as adding to the Star Wars universe. Obviously, the ending with the fighting, Duel of the Fates duel, really good. It's very exciting. It establishes good lore. Also, too, I want to ask you guys this because I've watched the movie like dozen times or more, but it has been a while since the last time I've watched it. I don't remember there being any bad dialogue. I think that was more Star Wars 2 and 3.
Yeah, you're right.
Because we don't have a lot of Anakin talking in this.
Yeah, specifically Star Wars 2. I agree.
The thing about this movie
is
there's just a lot of exposition dumping. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of like world building that people kind of like don't really like, which I get.
And a movie on its own, it would be probably really boring because you don't know what the heck you're watching. Which is another reason why it's going to go in B tier, not A tier.
Right.
That and we can't forget about Jar Jar Binks.
Right.
I personally don't mind him.
He does kind
of.
I
don't mind him at all.
As I've gotten older. Yeah, as I've gotten older, I start to really understand it a lot more, which also affects it a little bit.
Same exact
I still personally don't mind him.
For me is like when I was a kid, Jar Jar was cool, but now that I grow up and watch this movie, it's like that's just kind of like that's like potty humor type shit.
Yeah,
so it's going to be. He belongs.
I almost want to put it in A, but it's going to B.
I know there's so many things that make me want to put it in A. Like I would love to put this movie in A, but there's a couple things, like you said, William, that just like bring it down that one little peg. I think it's going to maintain the top of B tier for me.
So, are we good to move on?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good.
I want to rate this show real quick. I forgot the name, but with Ahsoka and Count Dooku, the Clone Wars.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I didn't finish all of it, but I finished most of it. I'm just going to give a quick review of it. I like that it goes into Ahsoka's background, and I also like that it goes into Count Dooku's background and kind of humanizes him. I do find Count Dooku to be one of the most interesting characters in Star Wars because he's not necessarily a bad guy. He just like Anakin, just like Qui-Gon, he knew that the Jedi were becoming corrupt, and he just went around more unethical ways of dealing with it. Overall, I'm just going to throw it in C tier. I think it's pretty good.
Solid.
If I watch it again, I might have put it higher, but it's been a while, and like I said, I didn't finish all of it. I need to go back and finish it. So I think C tier is a good place to throw it.
That's fair enough. Seems like a nice, reasonable place to put it for now.
So
Episode 2.
Episode 2.
F.
Episode 2 is certainly something. Hold on, buddy.
Episode 2 has some of the coolest Star Wars ideas that I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree.
It also has some of the worst
ideas.
CGI and some of the worst dialogue I've seen in Star Wars.
Remember? Yeah. And some weird action sequences.
My favorite
like
part.
going through the factory.
Yes.
My favorite part of the second movie is Obi-Wan on Kamino. That shit is so cool. That's was my favorite shit as a kid too. I loved that scene, and that kind of like is like what you said. It's one of those things. It's like really cool idea, and it was done pretty well. But then the next scene,
definitely the most memorable. Some of the most
the
memorable
next
for me
scene,
too.
Anakin and Padme are caressing each other's body in like a random field in the middle of nowhere. Like
I don't like sand. I don't know why I said that with a British accent, but anyways, but yeah, Anakin is probably he's probably my favorite character of all time, just being a kid growing up loving Hayden Christensen and Anakin. So as a kid, I loved this movie. I loved seeing Anakin grown up. I loved like the hot-headed, Anakin character, and I liked seeing him kind of turn to the dark side and stuff. But these are all things that you like when you're a kid, but you start to notice little things that just
throw
don't
you
really
off.
age too well when you're grown up.
Yeah,
you
they
get
kind of
older.
throw you off.
Yeah.
You don't realize like
You get older, is right.
Like when I was young, when I watched it, I didn't remember any of the romantic scenes.
Oh my dear Lord.
Or even the weird dialogue. Your brain doesn't really process any of that. Then you get older and you watch it again, and you're like, oh, this is why people don't like it.
Exactly.
The romance, all the romance between Anakin and Padme is very cringe. A lot of the dialogue is pretty bad.
Yeah.
And the movie is actually really boring through most of it toward the end.
Until
I guess
the
as a
end.
kid, watching it, I really only remembered the Kamino scenes and like the end, the fight scene with Dooku.
Every time I rewatch this movie, I always expect it to be more exciting than it is, and it always just kind of leaves me feeling like that was it.
Empty.
Like I kind of thought
Yeah.
there was more in this movie, like because I have such a like positive experience with it as a kid. So every
The
time I
music
go back
too.
to it, I'm just a little disappointed.
I remember when like they revealed the clone troopers, or the Kaminoans. Sorry, I butchered that.
Kaminoans,
With
I got you.
Kaminoans. blah blah blah.
Close enough. Close enough.
With Obi-Wan, and then it shows all the clone troopers marching with the music. Like, it's all super cool, super epic, super dramatic.
Super cool.
Yeah.
It sets up
agree.
the lore too on how the Jedi got the clone army.
Right.
And I love how it sets up Jango Fett. One of my favorite characters. And
I do too.
especially when I was younger. He's not as high anymore, but he's still one of my favorites.
Right.
I agree. I really like how they set up Jango Fett and even Boba Fett. I like that. Well,
Yeah, it was neat to see young Boba.
seeing that Boba was
Was
like
cool.
a clone
Yeah.
of Jango was really cool. I think that's a really, really cool thing they did.
Again, some of the positives, like George Lucas had a vision, right? He had this idea of this army that was going to fall into the hands of the Jedi, but it was, all part of this grand scheme. He's setting up a masterful storyline that will connect with his original trilogy. That these are the things that I love about this movie. I love, like Aaron said, the Kaminoans, the scene with Obi-Wan. I also love being able to see Obi-Wan's. This is technically his backstory, right? So, I love that.
Yeah, that's right.
He's definitely a highlight of this movie.
Yeah, he's probably the best
world
part about
building-
this movie.
The world building is very nice. But
Yeah, it's
I
very
very
nice.
much-
But as
Another
a movie
negative,
by itself. Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
it's just the fighting, bro. Fighting. Specifically, the
Negative?
fighting at the end.
Yeah.
Like
If
if
I
you guys
remember
go and
correctly,
rewatch, if you guys
wasn't
go and
that fight-
rewatch the fight with Count Dooku and Anakin, it's like all these super close-up shots of their face. Like you don't even
That's
see
exactly
the
what I was gonna say.
You're right.
choreographing. Like it's
And
way
it's not much
different.
of a fight at all.
They tried
Dooku-
something different and it just didn't work as well.
I do want to bring up something. I think also though maybe part of the reason it's like that is because it wasn't really a fight. Dooku kind of dominated both of them.
Right.
maybe that's part of the reason. It's not really an excuse, I guess, but maybe that's what he was trying to say. Is like, he beats them both super easily.
I
get
it,
until the Clone Wars when they can actually hold their own against him.
I'm just specifically talking about the camera angles and like the.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I don't know what George Lucas was doing, but he changed some things up from the Phantom Menace.
He could have just showed us. Could have just shown us Dooku whoop their butts instead of show us Dooku do some really weird looks into the camera and vice versa with Anakin, and then
yeah, you're right. Actually,
that's it.
I remember some of that now.
Yeah, I challenge you guys to go right now after you watch this video. Go look up.
Of course, after the video, please.
Anakin and Obi Wan versus Dooku, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Like it is weird, but guys, how do you feel about C tier? Like right smack dab in the middle.
I agree.
I'm putting it in D. I think it's a little bit worse than being in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's just a little bit worse.
Movie-wise, it's really not good. My nostalgia connection and the world building make me want to put it in C.
I'm just remembering scenes where remember when Padme was running through the factory and stuff? Like it was like a video game simulation. It was all pretty bad.
Yeah, the CGI was really bad.
I think that low scene, low C.
There was that one scene where
C's
Anakin
calling my name.
Killed those Tusken Raiders. Very well done. Beautiful scene too. On the speeder.
Honestly, I really do like that.
He's got the desert in the background.
Another reason why I'm putting it in D too is I have a comparison. I put the Ahsoka and Count Dooku Clone Wars thing in there. That's way better than this movie. So I can't put it with that. So it has to go in D tier for me.
That's fair. Totally fair. Totally get that. Personally, I think I'm going to leave it in C for now. I might come back to it later, but the more I think about it, the more there are some positives. Like, I do like the action scene at the beginning, the assassination attempt, and, the hot-headed Anakin are positives, but there's lots of things that bring it down. I might go to D. I'll let you guys know if I do later, but I'm going to plop it in C tier for now.
Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it in C tier for now, too. I think I'll end up putting it in low C tier by the time we're done with this list too. I'll rearrange all my C's and throw it at the lower end of C tier. But for now, I think C is good.
Alrighty.
Moving on.
The Clone Wars movie.
Clone Wars movie.
That's right.
I don't know. I think it's a D tier.
I agree. I think it's a D tier.
I think it's a C tier.
Honestly, a C tier. Yeah.
I liked it. I haven't seen it since for fucking 5-6 years, but
I love it, especially when I was young. I think it's great.
Yeah, that shit was gas. I don't really know why people hate on it. Do you know why, William? I'm not really sure.
I don't know.
The animation. I think it's the animation. I think people were hating on the animation.
Okay.
I don't know why I was saying D tier. I remember watching this movie over and over and over and over again.
I think it's.
You remember that game?
The Attack of the Clones, I think.
So we're kind of working off a different scale here, because I'm putting it with Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, that's true. I'm gonna do the same.
Which I have that in D. Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah, I have it with Attack of the Clones in C as well.
I also think I should move everything up. I should move Phantom Menace to A, this Clone Wars to B, and then these to C.
Yeah, I feel like moving Phantom Menace to A as well.
I almost feel like it's A worthy, but I'll keep it the same for now.
We'll kind of go over it a little bit later, maybe after we have a bit more on.
This will move around as we start throwing more in.
Exactly. But yeah, no. From what I remember from this movie, it was a good introduction to Ahsoka. It was kind of it was just a fun, exciting ride.
Don't we get Asajj Ventress in this as well?
We do. We get the introduction of a lot of new, very good characters. Captain Rex, Ahsoka, Asajj Ventress. That's right.
Yep.
Dude, honestly,
sets up for the Clone Wars TV show.
Yes.
It's real. There's not much of a story as a thing. It's all action and shooting and laser swords, which I think is awesome. It's lots of fun.
Right.
But story-wise, there's not a lot to take away from it. Lore-wise, there's some to take away from it. So that's why I'm very happy putting it with Attack of the Clones in the D tier.
If you think about the story for this, it was Anakin gets a Padawan. Let's go save Jabba the Hutt's little baby.
Is developing their relationship, Anakin with Ahsoka.
They go and save Jabba the Hutt's little baby. Asajj Asajj Ventress is there, and then they get that ship that Anakin and Ahsoka used throughout the Clone Wars. That's fucking it.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to the movie.
Yeah,
it was made for kids. It was it was
and
fun.
Sure as fuck did
But
Kid Aaron love it.
That's agreed. I think
I saw this in theaters, by the way.
Oh really?
Yeah,
dude. Aaron and I owned the DVD version, so we would just like put it on every weekend.
I literally watched it so much.
Yeah.
God, I know.
We got it at Hollywood Video when they were going out of business. If you know, you know.
You know, bro.
But
Hollywood Video, baby.
I'm gonna smack it,
or Blockbuster.
Like you said, William. Next to episode 2.
Yeah.
Which for me is in C tier, middle of the pack. Solid action movie, good little setup to the Clone Wars. Nothing really going on story wise to write home about, but a nice little addition to the Star Wars universe for kids.
I agree.
Alrighty.
It's a very different reason why being in C tier than Attack of the Clones is in C tier, but
yeah.
Regardless, they're both here. Or D.
Do we want to do Star Wars 3 first and do the Clone Wars, or do the Clone Wars TV show then do Star Wars 3?
Clone Wars TV show.
It's kind of like a 1-2 punch, so let's just start with the Clone Wars. Yeah, I think they're both going to the same spot in my opinion. It's some of the best.
Yeah. Also too, before I say this, the more I'm looking at this, I kind of want to move everything up on my list. I kind of want to move Phantom Menace to A.
Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I could do a little A.
If everything feels a little bit too low.
I could agree with Phantom Menace at A. I could also be fine with it being in B.
Just for me, because episode 2 and Clone Wars, I think, are C tier.
Definitely better.
They're kind of like average.
Honestly, I'd like to say the last time I watched Phantom Menace, I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So I think I'm gonna move it up to A. Like I don't have any complaints with it really. It was slow, but I like the slow. I like
so much
really not
good,
too much
good
about
world
it.
Building. Yeah.
To like hate.
Yeah.
Like, this is actually pretty decent.
It
an exciting climax and a perfect setup to.
And Jar Jar really isn't that bad. People hate on him way too much.
I 100% agree. I don't really have a problem with him. Like,
I just don't like seeing like.
You know what I mean?
Like, there's a couple of them put in S tier. I'm like, it's too far away from episode 1. Episode 1 really isn't that bad.
Right.
But okay. So Clone Wars.
That leads us right into Clone Wars. Yeah.
Our first S tier.
Yeah, I was going to say I think the Clone Wars is S tier worthy.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
I'd agree.
I would.
But I think I'd put it
in S or A. Specifically, the defining factor for me is literally just the filler episodes that would make it into A. But really, most shows have that. So.
What I was gonna say is I think I'm gonna throw it in S, but it's definitely gonna be below our next S. Hint, hint. The next on our list.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So.
I'll give my reason on why I think it should be. Oh, do you want to finish yours, Aaron?
I just it's some of the best content we have in Star Wars, but it's not perfect.
The show discovers itself over time. It starts out.
Yeah, it discovers itself over time.
Pretty mediocre, but then gets really good.
Even in the 7th season, there's those episodes in the middle that just kind of felt like they didn't belong whatsoever. So.
Oh yeah, those were extra episodes made by Disney too in season 7.
Yeah, it was just.
They
goofy.
could have had the Darth Maul thing. There was a couple things that could have.
Yeah,
been
they could have had the Darth Maul thing.
But
that would have been so cool.
Man,
they really felt like doing the most boring
Darth Maul
thing they could have
kidnaps Count Dooku and Grievous and forces Palpatine to come save them. Like, why couldn't we have seen that? Fuck.
Because
that's
everyone wants to see those ladies, those very kind ladies, help out Ahsoka, bro. That's why.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to see that. That's what I'm saying. Either lower S tier or probably the top of the line on A tier. Only because it's not like perfect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's see what you have to say.
Yeah,
you may sway me. You may very well sway me.
So the reason why I want an S tier Obviously, there are those problems where like it's up and down, but I'm kind of expecting that from a TV show. I'm kind of looking at the core episodes that really add to. Like if you looked up a watch guide, like what are the episodes you'd watch in a watch guide?
Right.
The Clone Wars basically kind of fixes the issues with the prequels, so I think it deserves a lot of credit there. Before the Clone Wars, you don't really like Anakin, even in Star Wars 3. Right. He goes to the dark side, turns Darth Vader, and you're not really surprised. Like, yeah, he was a freaking weirdo. All the red flags were there. Why didn't anyone pick this up? The Anakin from the Clone Wars is very different. It fixes his personality. He gives him way more charismatic. Depth. Way more, yeah. He's given depth. He's charismatic. He's a good leader. He loves saving people. And it also kind of gives more time that I guess George didn't have in the movies to kind of show the fall of Anakin. It's just very, very slow in the lore, in the story, where Anakin starts to turn to the dark side. You become much more attached to Anakin. Also, too, it adds great characters like Ahsoka, Captain Rex. Adds way more to the lore in general on how the Jedi fell. But overall, I think it just adds to the emotion a lot more. Like, if you watch Star Wars in order, Star Wars 1, Star Wars 2, and then watch the Clone Wars, at least the main episodes, then Star Wars 3 is so much more emotional.
Yeah.
The fight between Anakin and Obi-Wan is so much more emotional because you've seen their long relationship with through the Clone Wars, and the fall is just so much more dramatic. And even in Star Wars, the original trilogy, you're looking at Darth Vader, you're like, oh my god, that is Anakin Skywalker from the Clone Wars. That's the man who like used to sacrifice his life to save people. He had a Padawan. He did everything he could. He thought was good, but he just got turned because the Jedi were just too corrupt, and he just didn't know what else to do. It really makes the Star Wars stories so much better. If you watch this, like if you haven't watched too much Star Wars, you should watch Clone Wars with it because it makes it such a better story overall. Yes. And it even makes the redemption with Luke and his son so much more meaningful because you're thinking of that Anakin from the Clone Wars. That's why I think it should be an S tier, because I think it really just fixes the Star Wars universe. Like makes it so much better, and really makes you want to like Anakin a lot more. That's my reason for my main reason for putting it in an S tier.
I could agree with that.
My thoughts on it, really quick now. William, I totally agree with that. It's pretty much everything I was gonna say. It thickens the, it thickens the stew. Like it makes all these other movies that have so much time in between them hit that much more because you get to see the relationship that's only referenced in Revenge of the Sith between Anakin and Obi-Wan. You get to see them having this sort of brotherhood. You get to see Anakin, like you said, William, just have this rich sort of relationship with Ahsoka, which you've come to find out is a massive, massive reason why he turns to the dark side. And in your head,
when she
everything
leaves
in Revenge of the Sith just makes, it clicks together so perfectly. So if anything, I think that in and of itself belongs in S tier. Sure, there's stuff in the show that most definitely does not belong in S tier. There's
there's
filler. There's some arcs that are just all right. But as a kid's show,
like the R2D2 and C3PO arc.
Yeah. Oh my god. I think I skipped that. Luckily.
Fuck that. That was some of the worst shit I've had to watch.
But
no, man, Commander Gregor. It's weird because of Commander Gregor.
Okay, that's actually true. Commander Gregor's badass.
But no, I think bare bones, like at the end of the day, Clone Wars is it strengthens the rest of the series so much to where you need to give it a certain amount of credit.
Star Wars just really isn't the same without the Clone Wars, especially the prequels.
Plus, there's so much content there. If you really want to see some Star Wars prequel stuff, you just be like, just go watch a few episodes of the Clone Wars. Like, not to mention, Obi-Wan has some of the
Oh my god!
I love the Obi-Wan in this
Obi-Wan
growth and the most amazing action sequences and the most
so does Darth Maul.
heroism. Like Obi-Wan is a straight fucking hero in this
Every
show.
time I think of Obi-Wan from the Clone Wars, my mind directly just goes straight to
That's another thing.
him fighting Savage and Darth Maul at the same time.
That's a perfect
and defeating them both. Like,
it makes you like Obi-Wan more.
It makes you really like Obi-Wan more. Not to mention Obi-Wan's character development with, oh god, what was her name?
Duchess Satine.
The Duchess Satine, bro.
It shows all. It adds more loss that Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan literally lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it shows you the inverse of Anakin. Like,
Obi-Wan
lost just as much as Anakin, and he stood true, and Anakin did not. Like, it shows you the inverse.
Yeah.
Of what the Jedi Order is capable of.
That's one thing that we definitely need to bring up is like the show isn't just about Anakin. Like there's so much depth going on. There's so much like, story building going on here. Like
I was gonna say
a lot of great characters are introduced.
And I know William, you were about to say Darth Maul's reintroduced, which is a great idea. A character that has so much had so much potential is brought back, and I think they do a great job with him in this show.
Some of people's favorite characters ever are first introduced in this show and only in this show. Plo Koon, Kit Fisto, like
for me, Captain Rex.
Character is Plo Koon.
Captain Rex
and Kit Fisto.
People love Plo Koon, bro.
I love
Plo Koon's an absolute
he's not my favorite character.
No, not even in the slightest, but he's a fan favorite. I mean, Cad Bane too.
Yeah, some of the best characters in the Star Wars universe have been introduced in the show.
Yeah. People love Plo Koon, bro.
This is the time too when George Lucas was kind of still in charge of Star Wars. Like he was trying to fix a lot of things in here, and he did it. Him and his, Dave Filoni did a beautiful job.
Yeah.
Also, side note, I'm actually going to move everything back down to how I had it. I like seeing the gap between Episode 1 and Clone Wars. Hey, right there. It looks better now.
I'm gonna put. I think I'm gonna keep Phantom Menace in B and the other two in C still.
I might have some original trilogies in A tier, and I don't think they match with Episode 1 as well.
That's fair.
Yeah, I may put Phantom Menace in B, but I think I'm gonna keep it in A, and if I have to, I'll just put it lower A.
All right.
But yeah.
Your
take on the Clone Wars. Let us know what you think in the comments below.
Yeah. Please
Next one, Star Wars 3.
This is my favorite content Star Wars has ever had. This is S tier for me. I know it's the same for Aaron. I'm pretty sure it's the same for you too, William.
It is, yeah.
This is perfect example of, everything George Lucas was leading up to with this series. It hits with an emotional punch. The acting is incredible. Hayden Christensen takes 2 steps up from the previous movie. Ewan McGregor stays true. He does a great job.
Oh my God, Ewan.
Just the emotion is there. The music is there. The action is there.
Way faster paced.
Ewan McGregor is one of my favorite actors. I love his performances and just movies in general. So for him to play my favorite character like that so diligently, wonderful. And not to mention the compositional value as well is, rivals that of every other Star Wars movie. And past that, it's probably the most impressive compositional piece for Star Wars movies or movies in general. Like, it is incredible the way that it's not only built but placed in the movie. It's just masterful. Like the music that plays during Obi-Wan and Anakin's duel is like rivals that of Duel of the Fates for me. Like, I love that composition so much. It's so like gut-wrenching and like full of the emotion that is just surrounding those two characters in that moment. And I think it just makes that fight what it is for so many people without them, truly acknowledging it. I think that the music really pushes it that extra like 10 miles.
Agreed, for sure. John Williams is a legend. William, do you have anything that you would like to add to this? Glaze?
It's all the same stuff, really. The choreography too, just as good. Like I said, I wish we would. I wish wish you would go back to putting effort into like teaching actors. Like if there's a fight scene, teach them to have an awesome
William,
fight scene between like lightsabers. Like why put that aside? It's something that makes Star Wars Star Wars.
Yeah,
and that fight looks beautiful. It's great.
Yeah.
Just wait till you watch Dune.
Yeah, well, June is an exception. Like everything else, they're kind of like slacking.
Right. That's true.
I complained about this and.
No, go ahead, William.
You can go ahead. It wasn't important.
Oh, yeah, I forgot, honestly. I have no idea.
Then
it's a great movie.
The Fall of the Jedi Order and the Fall of the Republic, I think, was
66.
Order 66 was done so well.
Yeah.
And again, it makes me bring up the compositions. Like, that music that plays, like, puts goosebumps on your skin.
Order 66.
Every single
66.
time.
It's really good.
It's incredible. It shows, all the different Jedis being murdered. And
I want to address a couple things that people complain about really quick in this movie. One being when Darth Vader says, "No, shut the fuck up." Like, come on. It doesn't matter, bro. It's
people
not going to
complain about that?
It's not going to take
people
away.
People complain about that?
Yeah, people think it's cringe. Like,
I've never thought about that once. I've never thought about that being cringe.
Me neither. I've never.
See, that's because it's not cringe, guys.
It's never crossed my mind once that
why it's cool?
Cringe.
People say it's like cringe because it's like, what the hell? Like, Darth Vader would never do that. Like, what? He doesn't show emotion.
He's
like
not
that.
quite.
But here, I want to.
He's not Darth Vader fully yet.
That's like the release that Anakin. That's Anakin dying. Like that. No is like.
Mm-hmm.
That's Anakin releasing his last bit of himself, and after that is Darth Vader. Also, that's a cringe thing to diss this movie about. Another thing is people say that Anakin's turn to the dark side was a little too quick in that room.
Watch the Clone Wars.
We have the Clone Wars.
I think after we've talked about the Clone Wars, I think we can all make the connection now that Anakin has been wavering, and he's been on this path for a while
since
now.
The twins.
So his fall is really, he's already really, he's moments away from going down that path at the beginning of this movie. Whereas without the Clone Wars, you probably wouldn't know that, which is a valid complaint otherwise. But regardless, this movie does it very well, and every time I watch this movie, I feel the same emotions as I did when I was a kid. So. Yeah.
The only other complaint that may be a little justified is still some of the dialogue between Anakin and Padme are a little weird, but it's not nearly as bad as Episode 2.
No, it's definitely
and it's not bad enough for me to want to bring it down to A tier. It's still S tier. Like, it's not that relevant to me.
Like I said, Hayden Christensen really stepped up his game in this movie. He carried this character to a place where, it's believable, this fall and this emotion that he's feeling.
Yeah, people hated on him too much. It's really cool, actually, recently, just seeing him come back. He seems like his spark for being Anakin has kind of been relit.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's kind of neat. Some of the best things in Star Wars right now is just seeing that Hayden's getting a good treatment, kind of the treatment that I've felt like he always deserved.
Yeah. If you want to, I was just ready to say, if you want to learn more, because Anakin's a weird character people wrap their head around, especially people that aren't really like hard Star Wars fans. On the surface,
people who aren't fans of like good stories and good character development that takes place over a long period of time won't understand him.
Right. I was going to say, you can go watch Star Wars Theory has made some great videos kind of explaining why Anakin is a really cool and good character. He explains it really well. I recommend going and watching those.
Some people, all they really consume is junk food television, where the extent of their character development is Tony Stark, which, don't get me wrong, it's good, but it's not. It's like it's basic level, very, very basic level character development. He goes from
it's long-term storytelling, very long-term.
I don't know. that's a conversation for a different day. But I think the handling of Tony Stark is pretty amazing. But I also think, it's kind of oversaturated these days. Anyways, let's not get too far off topic.
Yeah, this is something I want to tell people too. Like, Star Wars may not be the best told story, like, in film. Like, the story itself is extremely good, but it's not always told the best. And I think that's what creates a lot of divide too between these movies is there's people that are really into the lore and they follow the story off screen and they're like, oh, this is an amazing story. But on screen, it's not always told the best, which is a big reason why I also recommend people you should watch Clone Wars with it because you probably want to appreciate the story a lot more.
I'd like to formally recall what I said about Tony Stark upon thinking about that further. I kind of
I mean, that is probably...
It's fine. You were looking for a comparison.
Yeah, it's okay.
I was looking for a comparison, and I chose Marvel, even though Tony Stark's character development is pretty...
It's pretty great.
Who has bad character development? Marvel.
Genius. Tony Stark's character development is kind of genius, the more I think about Civil War in particular.
Pretty incredible. But anyways, we'll make a video on that, guys. We will definitely do an MCU ranking for sure, at least until the end of Phase 3.
The more I think about it, that is pretty incredible.
Yeah, we
got a lot of things to rewatch if we're going to do that. I got to refresh my memory on those.
Anyways, let's get going on this. So next is Solo?
Obi Wan.
Well, we actually have a few. We have a few before Star Wars 4. We have. I know Rogue One's last in the list because it happens it ends right before Star Wars 4. But I have Bad Batch on my list. Right. I have Star Wars Rebels. I have Obi Wan Kenobi.
William, how much of Bad Batch have you seen? I've only seen the first
season 1.
Oh, me too.
I was going to put it. I was going to rate it real quick.
Yeah. Okay. Just talk about it for a second, guys. Both of you guys have seen season 1. I haven't seen season 1, so I'll just kind of.
Do you want to go first? You have anything special to say about it?
No, it was forgettable, and I don't really like the decision they made. They had this huge hype for Omega to be some really cool clone. They had this really deep, really potent hint, oh, is she Force sensitive? Is she going to be the first Force sensitive clone? She's also a woman? Is that why she's part of the Bad Batch? No. She's part of the Bad Batch because she's just a female clone. That's it. That is it. That's her only ability. It was boring and forgettable. I'm putting it in D tier.
The character development for Omega definitely wasn't the best. It was okay. I remember the show more for the Bad Batch characters.
They were cool.
I thought they were very cool, I
thought they were a very cool addition. I agree wholeheartedly.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but they didn't focus on those characters as much. Although I do like the main character, Hunter, or whatever his name is. He's a very cool clone. He's probably my favorite clone. Him and, a couple others. Whatever. I just think that they should have focused on the Bad Batch more so than Omega. That was kind of just a little forced, very forced. And it felt like her potential was very high and met very little. But I will say I do like what they did with the one clone's chip activating and the others not. And he was evil and stuff. I think that was cool. So I'm going to put it in high D.
Yeah, so what I don't like is too much on Omega. Like Aaron said, I like the dynamic between clone troopers. I like the struggle between the chip and what they go into. It kind of goes into the fall of Kamino as well, which is kind of cool lore-wise. But yeah, it was kind of forced. There was, I guess, it wasn't the best storytelling. Wrap this up, breakers. I know Gabe hasn't seen this. Something that really killed it, I might have put it in C tier. Although a lot of it's just kind of fighting and shooting, and a kind of same reason why Clone Wars is in D tier, just the movie, just because it's a lot. It's fun to watch. There's a lot of fighting and it's cool, but there's not much to take away from it. Also, too, I do not like the way it ends. It really falls off. Season 1 anyway.
Yeah,
I remember being very disappointed by the last 2 episodes because they were kind of slow. It was boring. It didn't really It didn't really hit with anything. So that's why I'm putting it in D tier.
Every Disney show.
I'm tired of this. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Right,
so it's going in D tier.
Yeah, it's high D, low C for me because Phantom Menace is in C. Not Phantom Menace. Attack of the Clones is in C.
So, I have not seen Solo. I'm going to have to leave that to you guys.
I will quickly give my thoughts. Aaron, have you seen it? You have.
Yeah, I've seen it like
all right.
2 or 3 times.
Here, let me just give my thoughts. Solo was not the worst. It was certainly not the best. It was very forgettable. I never think about this movie. When I think about Han Solo, I think about Harrison Ford, and I think about the original trilogy. It doesn't really have anything that irks me too much. The weird relationship with the robot and Lando was just that. Weird.
Weird.
There was some interesting things with Darth Maul at the end and the crime syndicate, but literally went nowhere. I'm gonna slap this in D, call it good.
Yeah.
It wasn't horrible.
I agree.
It was a fun little ride, but probably the most forgettable thing on this entire list for me.
It was
See ya.
I was waiting for that. Yeah, that whole entire that entire description of that movie, you sounded like Charlie. Every descriptive word you used was Charlie oriented. You were like
that's what you're doing.
You're like the weird relationship between Lando and the robot was just that weird.
That's a Charlie thing to say, I guess.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, what the fuck? But I would have to agree. It was forgettable. It was weird. But I will say, I didn't really dislike after the second watch. I didn't dislike the actor who played Han. What was his name?
He didn't do a bad job, but
I think he did a pretty decent job at portraying Han.
There's just no point in this movie existing. So
I think he did a decent job portraying Han in terms of as good as it gets without being Harrison Ford, and that's not very good. But he did fine, and I would have to say the same about Lando and Gambino. But yeah, forgettable. I agree. D tier. Although it is fun.
Yeah,
it's a fun movie.
That's what keeps.
I think Disney.
Yeah.
I think this is when Disney learned people don't watch Star Wars just because it's Star Wars.
Yeah, you actually have to make a good story.
No one really it didn't profit in box office.
Also, I would like to say the trailer for this movie didn't come out until like a month or two before the movie came out, so nobody was anticipating it.
And also, this movie came out like 3 or 4 months after The Last Jedi, which was a super divisive Star Wars film, so no one was really.
Yeah, people were heated on that. Solo. Yeah. I remember when Solo came out, and I was like, I had no interest of going and watching that at the time. I was so like burnt out and bored.
Star Wars.
And sure enough, I heard Solo was just kind of mediocre. It was like okay, but it was kind of boring.
Yeah. All right, let's go on to Obi-Wan.
Oh man, Obi-Wan.
Before we do Obi-Wan, I do have Star Wars Rebels on my list.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you guys watch that?
I didn't watch it, but I know the iconic moments, and I've heard some good things. But
so
that's Dawson's favorite show.
My quick little hot take on it. Everything not about the main character, I think, is good. For the most part, especially in the beginning. I love the stuff with Ahsoka, with Darth Vader. It sets up some good lore. It has Thrawn in it. Obviously, it can't live up. It doesn't live up to Clone Wars because it is more made for kids. Although I guess you could say Clone Wars was too, and it matured with the audience. But it has more black and white storytelling. Like they're always like stormtroopers are not a threat. They're always taking out stormtroopers and putting on their armor. It's like a continuous thing that they always do. And it gets old. So kind of each filler episodes will follow the same format. So I'm gonna throw it in C tier because I like the Ahsoka and Darth Vader stuff. Darth Vader, the fight between Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, I think was great.
You mean
a great way.
Darth Maul and Obi-Wan.
Darth Maul and Obi-Wan.
And Obi-Wan. Okay.
Was great. A lot of people hate on the fight because it wasn't as cinematic, but there was so much meaning in the fight.
Right.
Obi-Wan starts out with his default stance, like if you don't know about it, Obi-Wan starts off as default stance. Darth Maul has a defensive stance, but then Darth Maul just goes back to his old ways and gets more aggressive. And Obi-Wan learns from this and switches to a defensive stance and defeats
Maul.
Well, Darth Maul tries to take out Obi-Wan the same way he does Qui-Gon with the headbutt of the centerpiece of his lightsaber, but Obi-Wan sees that coming and cuts it down the middle and kills Darth Maul. It's really good. Stuff like that really makes the show really good.
Yeah.
But that's like 10% of the show. So it's going in C tier.
It basically just shows you at that moment that Obi-Wan's been living rent-free in Maul's head since he fucking killed him the first time.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyways,
so
Obi-Wan time?
It's worth... The main episodes are worth watching. It adds to it. It's pretty cool.
C tier.
Yeah, C tier.
Obi-Wan. This is tough, dude. It hurts to rank, bro, but...
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Who wants to give their take first?
People are gonna get mad at us for this, bro.
I don't know.
Is this D tier or is this low C tier? Like, this is kind of where I'm wavering.
For me, I put it...
I actually think Star Wars Rebels is better than Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I think I'd put
the Clone Wars Count Dooku and
fair.
Ahsoka show.
Yeah, I get that. I put it at...
Bro, they dropped the ball on it. Here, you guys explain your...
Okay.
Dude,
when do you guys go first?
I don't have feeling. I don't have any, like... I don't know where to put it. I liked parts of it, and I strongly disliked more parts of it, so...
I mean, it was great to see Obi-Wan again.
Yeah.
Right?
When I look back on the positives, I see a negative, anxiety-driven, almost hateful Obi-Wan. I wouldn't say hateful, but like hopeless is a better word. Hopeless Obi-Wan, scared. And I love that. I truly do. The first 2 episodes are like damn near 10 out of 10s because of the way Obi-Wan's portrayed. And I loved in the second episode seeing Obi-Wan almost as like fucking Ethan Hunt spy shit, going through the undergrounds of Coruscant and beating the shit out of people, being fucking, really badass without using his lightsaber. I thought that was some of the coolest shit they could have done with this character, is show this other side of Obi-Wan where he's on the fence, where he's like, borderline, but he's not, he still has that semblance of like, this is my way, like it's my way. And I think that was masterfully done. You get past that and the show just
falters.
Yeah, it fails.
I think the whole
really
character of Reva is a miss. I'm sorry, but
fuck Reva. I think Leia was pretty poorly placed into the show.
Agreed.
I think they should have done more with Luke.
Remember that?
Also,
oh my God, I can't catch her.
I like that Flea was in the show. He should have done a better job at collecting Leia, though. Anyways, I'm putting it in D tier.
I think I'm gonna put it in D tier as well. The final battle between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul was...
Anakin is gone.
It was cringe, bro. Like, I wanted it to be good, and there was parts of it that, I was, like, excited, and I was happy that it was happening, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really add to Star Wars' story. It doesn't really even add to Obi-Wan's character too much.
It hurts things.
That ending part definitely does hurt things, which is why this show is going to be D instead of C. Because like Aaron said, there were some good parts, there was some good stuff. The setup was okay. They set up a couple things that, as they normally do with this new age Star Wars, don't come to fruition. Like I said, Reva was a swing and a miss.
Why is this like a trend, having to always add like force in side characters that don't like...
22nd of March, I'd love to see you.
Do you want
Aaron?
Sorry. I saw Sean Millis and I had to play him for a second. That was done on purpose, I'd like to say.
Yeah.
Sean Millis, baby. Sorry, actually, I lost my train of thought. What's her name?
Reva.
They do this a lot in shows nowadays, where they have like a character, and then they force in side characters that kind of they don't add to the character the story, but they kind of like take away from it, and they push the character aside. Like they kind of push the Obi-Wan story aside.
If anyone knows what the point of Reva's
and this happens a
character
lot in
this
film
show was,
nowadays.
just
Like why?
drop it in the comments. If
Like,
anyone knows the point of her character.
How does storytelling? You'd think over the years storytelling in film would
agree
get
with
better,
you.
but like it's gotten worse. Like with a lot of stuff, like it didn't add to the story, and you see this a lot in shows where they shove in characters and to try to like force characters on there. They don't add anything to the story. Like no
I'm
one cared
tired
about
of
her.
talking. Shit makes me upset, bro.
But yeah, do you have anything else to say?
Just leave in the comments if you know why Reva was in the show. I would really, I really want to know.
Please.
So
I'd
I want
like
to give my take.
It was really cool to see. That's about it. Nothing. Yeah.
The only reason why this isn't an F tier is because Ewan McGregor's in it.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I loved
For me.
seeing. I loved seeing Ewan McGregor. I liked those first 2 episodes, but
I loved them.
Yeah.
the show did
So-
really nothing but kind of ruin
Disappoint.
some canon.
Yeah.
And just kind of diminish some integral parts of Star Wars. So
Yeah, I
Disappointing.
kind of have 2 takes on this. I think if you're not like a super hard Star Wars fan, you'd probably like this more than we do. Because as a
agreed.
show by itself, it's actually okay.
besides Reva,
The character development with Obi-Wan, right? The character development with Obi-Wan is, it's character development. He's kind of a broken hero, and it becomes a full hero again by the end of the show. It's kind of cool.
yeah,
Obviously, there's stuff shoved in that kind of took away from Obi-Wan's character. For example, Reva. And also, too, the girl and the robot, I think were a little forced as well. Like, I think she dies, right? And the robot? They both die? Or just the robot? I don't know, but it was supposed to be a really sad scene, but they didn't make me like the characters. I didn't have enough time to like them. And you see this a lot in modern film a lot, where like they make a really sad sequence, but they didn't do any character development for the person. So you're sitting there like,
yeah,
why? I don't care that they're dead. Thank you. They were taken away from Obi-Wan. Please
Right.
go away. So like I'm there cheering while I should be there crying.
Right.
It's kind of the thing.
yeah.
For Star Wars fans though, oh, you want to add something?
No, go ahead. Finish up what you have to say.
Okay, so for Star Wars fans, this is a lot worse because one, Disney doesn't really know how to force things to work. They treat it more like a superpower. So, for example, when Obi-Wan fights Darth Vader, he's standing there like Jesus as rocks roll around him and hurl down on Darth Vader.
Oh, we love
The
that.
Force doesn't work like that. And you see this a lot in a lot of Disney Star Wars. They don't seem to understand that the Force is like something you wield. It's an art form. It takes years, even if you have high midichlorian count, to learn how to wield.
And Obi-Wan, by the way, is not particularly known for being very powerful in the Force, is he?
That is correct. Although he becomes powerful because he masters his use of the Force.
Correct.
But yeah,
Just-
there's kind of a cap on him.
Not enough to be Jesus.
And also, too, the broken Obi-Wan in the beginning turns a lot of people off. Because, sure, for the show, it's good storytelling. But
Yeah.
it's kind of out of character for Obi-Wan. Because Obi-Wan's already gone through his lowest points in the past. His Duchess Sartine, his, like, wannabe girlfriend, is killed in front of him. His master's killed in front of him. And Obi-Wan never broke. Like, he knows what it's like to go through his lowest points. And he always stays true to being a Jedi. So the whole setup of him being like super paranoid and scared is out of character, I think, for a lot of people. It is for me. Let me know what you
agree.
think, but
It was definitely shocking, and I wasn't expecting it because I thought that Obi-Wan would be in a place of, sure, everything that he's ever loved has left him, but he's Obi-Wan, he's kind of in a spot of like just reflection, which I will say, if there is a season 2, it kind of seems like that's the path that they were going to send him down for that. When he sees Qui-Gon at the end, it's kind of like now he's the Obi-Wan that we see in A New Hope. He has to make it through this hurdle. So that's something that I can see they were wanting to do. They fumbled the bag so many times on the way to where
there's some other like
didn't work. There's a lot
really
to be
silly
said
stuff
about
too.
this show.
Like, why is Obi-Wan scared of Darth Vader? He beat him once, and he's weaker now than he was before. Like, why is he scared of him? Also, really small things, super irritating. Like, Darth Vader is standing, and Obi-Wan are standing next to each other, and the only thing separating them is a little bit of fire on the ground. Like, and it stops Darth Vader from going and attacking him. Like,
Right.
goofy stuff. Also, too, the whole fight at the end was unnecessary. I think it ruins the fight in Episode 4. Because Darth Vader's scared of Obi-Wan in Episode 4. And sure, it's like, oh, he beats me again a second time. But for me, it takes away from the fight in Episode 4. It's the reason why the fight in Episode 4 is so conservative is because Darth Vader knows Obi-Wan is like one of the only people out there that can actually beat him. And it adds stuff to the story that takes away. It adds stuff to the lore that takes away from like the story for me.
Yeah, agreed.
And I can't get behind it.
Yeah.
I almost actually want to put an F tier after talking more. I'm throwing in an F tier. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
It's not good. It ruins too much Star Wars for me to want to like it. I'm throwing in an F tier.
All right, I think
I'm ready for Andor
on that one. William hasn't seen Andor, so have you seen it, Aaron?
Yeah, I love Andor. I really love Andor.
Here, I'll start off on this one if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah, of
I
course.
didn't really get to talk about Obi-Wan too much, but I don't really have anything else to say about it. So.
Yeah, sorry, I had a lot to say on that, that show.
You cleared it up. Okay, Andor is a very different. It's something that we have never seen in Star Wars before. It starts off barely even feeling like Star Wars. It feels like just another sci-fi
bricks
storyline.
Bricks in the wall.
Is, it took me a second to really get into it, but dang, it is cool to see this side of Star Wars, kind of like a more gritty underworld where there's not a single Jedi, there's not a single lightsaber in the entire show. I get why people kind of say that that's a negative thing because, they want to go to the Star Wars universe and they want to have an escape. They want to see, Jedi and Force and big lightsaber fights and everything, but that's simply not what this show is. It's a character-driven show. It's about Andor and his, how he gets involved with the Rebel Alliance, and you get
his devotion,
crime and jail, and there's a lot of heartfelt moments and well-written characters. The show also took its time to let these things develop. I think there was like 12 episodes, which is way more than all the other Disney Plus shows.
It's about 4 more,
wasn't it?
Yeah, very well paced for sure. It was definitely a slow burn. So if you're not into that sort of thing, then this probably is not your cup of tea. So this is not for everybody, but it's a neat change for Star Wars, and I like it.
What did it add to the Star Wars, like? I remember people saying like it was actually really good, but it was like its own storyline, right, in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
before Rogue One.
It's basically, it just follows Andor and like his
introduction into the rebellion.
Rebellion. It doesn't have a lot more that it does for Star Wars.
It's very real, right? Like real and gritty.
Yeah. Let me clarify. It's his introduction into like the official rebellion, because he's been rebelling against the Empire since he was a little boy, right? But his official introduction to the rebellion is in this through Skarsgård's character, whoever he was, I forgot his name. But it shows it's very gritty, William. Yeah, it's as gritty as it can get for Star Wars, and it shows like Andor's devotion. Like he almost has to set aside a lot of things for the rebellion. And it honestly, there's a moment with Skarsgård's character at the end, and it's so cool, like, to show that the rebellion like has to make all these sacrifices to work.
Yeah, to fight the Empire.
It kind of leads into Rogue One, where you see Cassian as like a very hard ass, almost like a dick. You know what I mean? Because he knows what it has to take for the rebellion to succeed.
He's seen shit happen.
Yeah,
willing
exactly.
to make the hard choices.
I want to make an assumption
saying.
here that maybe people like it too. It sounds like it's really one of the only shows out there, or I guess media in Star Wars, where it's normal people in the Star Wars universe, not
Yes.
Jedi, not like Mandalorians. It's just the experience of normal people, and I bet that makes it really interesting.
Exactly.
It's very cool.
Cool to see this side of the Star Wars.
It like adds realism.
We always knew was there, but we never really got to experience it without the caveat of like having a Luke Skywalker or someone, you know.
It feels like
bounty hunters and all this. I'm gonna put it in B tier. I don't want to spend too much time on it. There's a couple things that, you know, are lacking. It doesn't have for me the. I do like to see, you know, big. I like to see like lore and you know, things that really change the course of Star Wars. This story is something that I would recommend going to if you want to see a show like this. I don't think you need to watch it. You could skip over it if you're doing a marathon. It's definitely not a necessity, but it's a great sort of piece of television that happens to be in the Star Wars universe, and it definitely adds a lot in its own right, but
guys,
doesn't quite get it into A tier for me. Like,
yeah.
I'd like to ask, after we do Rogue One, do you want to finish tomorrow?
Yeah, I noticed you sound really tired.
Yeah,
sure. I'm down.
Because I'll have a lot of time tomorrow after 7.
Okay.
Let's just stop now. Let's just call it there now.
No, let's do Rogue One so that we have.
Yeah.
So we finish up the prequels, we finish up all that, and then we just have 4, 5, 6, and then the sequels.
Okay. Yeah.
So that leads us right into Rogue One, which I think does get an A tier treatment for me.
It's an A tier or an S tier.
Yeah.
I would say, right?
I can totally see S tier, but personally,
I agree.
I'm gonna.
Disney hit hard with this. This was like their first movie, wasn't it?
I'm putting it in S tier.
Second.
Was it this or Force Awakens?
Force Awakens, but then
Ooh,
like they hit hard with this movie.
I got some thinking to do. Because I have to think about, like, do I like it as much as A New Hope?
Well, here's the thing. I have no complaints about this movie. I can't think of one thing I don't like about it.
Yeah,
It's been a while since I've seen it, but it's another one kind of like what sounds like Andor is. It adds kind of like realism to the Star Wars universe. It makes, by showing regular people in the show, it really shows, or in the universe, it shows how scary the Empire actually is.
Right.
And again, like the sacrifice people have to go through to make it.
I'm throwing
and
that
it shows
shit
how they got the
as
Death
well.
Star plans.
The one
I really don't have anything to. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just the one thing that differentiates Rogue One from Andor to me is the stakes. The stakes in Rogue One are a lot higher. You feel the tension.
Yes.
You feel the emotion. You feel like the. You feel the, like, what is the word I'm looking for? Like the. Like
the
how
tension,
how dire
like
it is. How dire it is to get this job done. Like you feel how important this job is. You know.
Yeah, I feel like before this shit happens, before this takes place, we're met with a very hopeless rebellion. What's that one woman's name? You know, she's like the red hair, short red hair.
Moff Gideon. I'm kidding.
No, but
Moff
she's
Gideon.
like Moff Gideon. I'm over here stroking my dick. I'd like to say the rebellion is not very, like, they're like at an all-time low. They're saying maybe we should give this up. Maybe it's not worth it. And then there's this sliver of hope because of her father. And then on a one-shot chance, they get it done. And it's cool. And everybody, spoiler, dies. You that's crazy. That's bold.
Yeah, the sacrifice that they went through to get the Death Star plans. And also, too, they do Darth Vader, right? Like, whoever made this movie, or the team in charge of it, they knew what Star Wars was.
Oh my god, I forgot about Darth Vader's hallway scene.
Which is a problem in a lot of the newer forms of Star Wars media. It's like, they don't really know what Star Wars is. This is there's a clear, concise story. and they follow it really well. There's no annoying side stuff shoved in your face. It's it's one of the best movies Disney's released. It's like
it is
since
the best
they've
movie.
acquired Star Wars.
I
don't know what
want to
happened.
put it in S tier, but for me the difference between S tier and A tier is a serious emotional attachment, and I just don't have that with this movie.
That's true.
So that's my personal criteria for S tier. Just in case anyone out there wants to know, my personal criteria. I don't like putting things in S tier unless I personally unless they change me.
Find them perfect. Yeah. Perfect.
I mean, this movie can be considered perfect. 100% agree. It lives at the top of A tier for me, but it just doesn't have the personal connection to me. So that's why my personal list has it at A, and I totally understand why anyone would have it at S, because I also do not have any complaints about it.
Yeah, so I'm with O in S tier as well. Great acting too. That's another thing too.
I think I'm
Everything about it.
I agree with you, Gabe.
It's fire.
But I don't know. After watching Andor, I almost have a serious emotional attachment to Cassian.
Mm-hmm.
He's an incredible character. I love the way he was written.
Andor
and in that that show is
better,
Yeah.
It makes
the
it
Andor
even harder.
The Andor TV show is I think everybody needs to watch that. I actually don't, but I think if you like a good story, if you're a fan of storytelling, you need to watch Andor, whether you're a fan of Star Wars or not, because it's more so a good story than it is a good Star Wars story. And that's what I love so much about Andor. It builds this character that you finally are because in Rogue One, you're okay, Cassian's cool, but you don't really like him until the end. And then in Andor, you're whoa, there's a person there.
Yeah.
He feels real. He feels like he exists. He doesn't feel like a character. He feels like a person. And that's what I like. I love that. I love when there's people like that. To bring out Breaking Bad, that all of those characters feel like people. Do you know what I mean? They don't feel like characters.
Agreed.
And that's what I like about Andor a lot. He feels like that. And that's makes Rogue One, I think, bordering S tier and A tier. I'll probably know more tomorrow. I'll be more confident. But.
Yeah, I'm throwing it in S tier. I think it deserves it. It's really one of the, it's the not TV show but movie wise, it's the only good Star Wars movie Disney's made.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm gonna throw it in S tier.
All right, guys. So we took a little break here, and I just want to explain a couple things. I ended up moving. I moved episode 1 up to A tier. I just feel in my heart that's where it belongs. And I moved Obi-Wan down to cringe tier, which is what we named F tier because this show is just
let me change mine to cringe.
And I think we can all agree that unfortunately Obi-Wan belongs in the cringe tier. Wouldn't you guys say?
Yeah. Also, I think I agree with your A tier. C and B seemed a little harsh, to be honest, because I really only had one complaint, which was Jar Jar Binks, and it wasn't even that big of a complaint.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel very confident with it.
I think A tier makes more sense.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay, I'm also going to put... Should I put Andor in A tier?
I have it in A tier. I have it at the top of my A tier, actually.
But it sounds like an A tier show, to be honest.
Should I put... If I put Andor in A tier, though, I feel like I have to put Rogue One in S tier.
Oh, I have my own Rogue One in S tier.
Yeah, Rogue One is S tier, even though it's
there's...
it's personally not... I don't know.
Yeah.
There's nothing to complain about it. It's the only good Disney movie that they've made for Star Wars.
Gabe, I'm in the same boat as you. I'm on the fence between A and S tier for Rogue One because it feels like an S tier, but it also doesn't feel like it belongs in the same tier as.
It has great action scenes, great space scenes. It explores, the more common people with Star Wars. Yeah. It goes over to sacrifices the rebels had to make, which is not something the original trilogy did a very good job of, to be honest.
Right.
I think it's a really, really good movie.
I might end up moving it up to
great characters too.
But I think for now I'm gonna leave it at the very, very top of A tier, just because it just doesn't have that magic for me personally, which is kind of what I put my S tier in when it comes to this list, but I might move it up. We'll come back to that later. You guys
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't have that magic for me either, but I think it's a really good Star Wars movie.
Agreed.
Well written.
So,
they did Darth Vader, right?
oh yeah, for sure.
Anyway, we're on A New Hope, right?
Yes, A New Hope.
Alrighty.
A New Hope is fucking
Classic.
You know, it's classic. It's Star Wars.
Started the whole thing.
There's really not a lot to say about A New Hope besides like tried and true hero's journey. You know, we start off with Luke Skywalker. We have a good wise master in Ben Kenobi. We see the beginnings of all these intricate relationships that are continuing to evolve and intertwine throughout George Lucas's Star Wars, and it just sets up so many great things. And honestly, it stands alone as like a great movie in and of itself. Like he could have just stopped it after this one and just called it
he
good.
he didn't really plan to make a second one, I don't think, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't
he
that the whole
wrapped it
thing?
up with them basically killing the Death Star. He just left an open string, which was that he didn't really show
The
Darth Vader getting killed. But
Yeah.
I think in and of itself, it's just the purest A tier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
I have to
would
agree.
Yeah.
right smack dab in the middle of A tier.
It's
It also Alec Guinness won an Oscar for that film, did he not? Best Supporting Actor
oh, did he?
No, I'm not sure.
in Obi Wan. I believe he won
I almost.
Best Supporting Actor in 1978. Or
Nice.
Wait, who's Alice Guinness? Who did he play?
Alec Guinness
He played Obi-Wan.
Oh, he played Obi-Wan. Okay. You know, the Clone Wars made A New Hope better too, just because the Obi-Wan talking about Anakin. You think about the Clone Wars Skywalker.
Oh,
Anakin.
I know, right? That little part. That's true.
Yeah,
That's very true.
it's really cool. Shoot, I almost considered putting it in S tier. Although I don't. It's kind of hard because the movie's so old. But for its time, it was revolutionary. You know,
Yeah.
okay, no,
the
he did not
style-
win, but he was nominated. He did not win though.
But yeah, like the no CGI, like they made miniatures. Like certain backgrounds were actually paintings, I think, or drawings.
Practical effects.
Like
yeah.
it was,
Yeah,
it was
I'm
the first time like people saw like stuff like this in the big screen.
Yeah.
I'm
So it was very
much a
revolutionary.
fan
Very
of
true.
practical effects like that as well. Like it just
mean-
goes a very long ways. Even in today's, CGI, where CGI looks more real in real life type shit. I still, depending on the film, of course, I still love a good practical effects almost more than CGI sometimes, depending on the film, of course.
I'm gonna leave it at top of A tier. Because it
too.
started something great. Although the story is a classic, so it's not necessarily anything too original. Although the universe is original, but I think A tier is good because it started something great and it created other shows that become S tier because of A New Hope.
I think
That's gonna be my excuse for keeping it an A.
I'm leaving it an A is because for everything it does have, it doesn't quite pack that emotional punch that
Exactly.
The Empire Strikes Back kind of has.
Mhm.
I think George Lucas really capitalized on that with The Empire Strikes Back, and this is a classic adventure film, but yeah,
Perfect example of the hero's journey.
to break into that
Yep.
upper echelon of S tier, you have to have that severe emotional punch, which I think is a perfect transition to Empire Strikes Back, which I'm going to put in S tier.
Yep. I
Me
am
as
too.
well. I'm putting it second S tier.
This is like the first just absolute banger of a Star Wars movie. It has everything you want. It has everything that A New Hope has. Added on top of, just like we were saying, that emotional punch. There's some big, massive reveals, some iconic moments. I'm your father. Some great acting from Mark Hamill.
Of course.
It really just further deepens the lore and mythology of the original movie, and
Introduces
exciting
some really cool new characters as well.
Like Boba
Yes.
Fett.
Boba
Yeah,
Fett,
we also get to see
Lando
Darth Vader.
Yoda,
One of
Lando
the-
Calrissian.
Oh yeah, the Darth Vader fight scene with Luke was super super good.
We get
Also,
to see
too,
Darth Vader do a lot more in this one as well. Like
that
in the
was
fourth one, he like has his scenes and he has his moments. But in this one, like there's no more. Oh my God, what's that guy's name?
Moff Gideon.
Moff Gideon.
Moff Tarkin.
No.
Oh,
Moff Tarkin. Grand Moff Tarkin.
Also,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, there's no more Grand Moff Tarkin to like kind of push him around. Like Vader's in charge here. Vader's doing what he thinks is best, and I think that's very cool to see.
Except he's not, because the Emperor is introduced in this movie,
Well,
which leads the audience to see this greater evil in the universe, which is really cool and a great addition to.
Oh yeah, we
Star
don't
Wars.
see the Emperor till
that's true, but
episode 5, right? Wow,
that's
I
not
didn't even think about that.
The point of me saying that was just to say, like, in the fourth one, you see Vader tries to do all these different things.
You see Vader be more
Tarkin is kind of like,
in Star Wars 5.
No, you're not allowed to do that. And in Star Wars 5, there's no Grand Moff Tarkin to do that. Vader's just being Vader. Of course, he's like, doing the bidding for the Emperor, but he's not like in shackles or being pushed around.
You see him doing his own thing more. You get to see a lot more Vader running.
Which I think is very, very cool.
And it is very cool. I love the fight scene between Vader and Luke in this one a lot.
Me too. I also like Han in this movie a lot as well. I think Han's character development starts to really get moving in this one, which is very, very cool to see, with him getting frozen in kryptonite and just like accepting that almost.
Yeah, it was crazy for the time because like people didn't know what was going to happen after that. Yeah. It's like, oh my gosh, they actually lost. Holy cow!
Yeah. The story was a lot more.
Also,
too.
The plot twist with Darth Vader being Luke's father, like nobody knew that. That was a complete out of nowhere.
I know, right?
I've had older people tell me that it was like one of the craziest things in the theater. It's like, oh my god, he's his father. Like nobody, like no one thought of that.
Yeah, I know. It became such an iconic moment in movie history just because of how shocking it was and how well played off it was, and how well it fit into everything that was happening at the time.
Yeah. But yeah, that's reason why I'm putting it in S tier.
I agree with everything you guys said. Are you guys ready to move on to the Return of the Jedi?
I am.
Sure.
I really like the old drawing look of these original trilogy posters covers.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah, very cool.
Even the prequels stayed with that same style.
Honestly, I all the artwork on the movies in general is just really cool. I like that sort of vibe. But yeah, Return of the Jedi. I'm thinking it's also a solid A tier. This movie for me was a big part of my childhood. I always looked up to Luke Skywalker, and I always went back to this movie when it was just on VHS, and I loved the green lightsaber, and because that was also a new thing in this movie, was the green lightsaber. It was just blue and red before that. But no, I had a great time with this movie as a kid, and I think it still holds up as an adult. You get to see Luke much more mature, much more, just along in his Jedi journey. He's a Jedi Knight now, and he's learned a lot.
It creates the Luke that we look up to. The end of this movie sets up that Luke Skywalker that stayed true to the Jedi path. Jedi never give up. They always hold hope.
Like, this is the Luke Skywalker that lived on in so many people's hearts from the 80s all the way until 2000.
Until the prequels, or I mean the sequels.
Sequels. Like this is that Luke, the one that, like, he
redeemed Darth Vader.
Yeah, like he's
brought back Anakin Skywalker.
Such a great, climactic ending to this trilogy.
Yeah.
There's a couple things people like to nitpick about. Like we were talking earlier a little bit about the Ewoks and stuff, but
yeah, the beginning can be a little, or like the middle sections can be a little slow. So it's not S tier, but the ending really carries it.
You have the amazing space battle. Honestly, that space battle is super underrated. It's probably one of the best in Star Wars.
You're right. It is a really good space battle.
Like, it is so good. I think it's better than Episode 4's space battle. Like, shit really goes crazy. You got Lando up there just fucking going crazy in the Millennium Falcon.
They definitely had that higher budget.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You got Han Solo doing his thing with Leia. I thought the Ewok thing worked. Aaron and I were talking about it a little earlier. I think it landed. You get the cute Ewoks, you know. You get
Space Vietnam.
A riveting story.
I mean, it kind of works, right? Their technology wasn't really built for operating in dense woods like that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I know people like to complain, like, oh, they were just made to sell toys, but like, isn't that what Star Wars is in general? Isn't that a big point of some of these characters throughout history? You know?
Especially Disney Star Wars, Baby Yoda.
I mean, it was
the
like
only
that
reason why he exists.
It's been like that for Star Wars just forever, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Episode 1, Darth Maul, like, selling toys has always been a big part of it.
Did Ewoks become a big thing people bought when that movie came out?
Oh, yeah.
Was that like, did that work? Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Because I've actually never really seen the Ewok
Like,
stuffed animal or anything.
Ewoks are now something that everybody knows, you know? It's like
It's
Darth
like a part of
Vader,
pop culture,
Ewok.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
People know
It's the
what
same
an
thing
Ewok
I've
with
just
Baby
never
Yoda.
personally seen an Ewok, like, stuffed animal.
That's probably because we are 20 years too late for this movie, but...
Yeah. Before our time.
Now it's like Baby Yoda's taken his place, but...
Taking the scene.
Yeah, what do you guys have to say?
Yeah, Aaron, do you have anything to add to what Gabe said?
No. You guys summed it up pretty well.
The
Well done.
yeah, the fight scene at the end was great. The conversation between Luke and Emperor, Darth
Yes.
Vader. Everyone knows this. If you're watching this, you've probably seen the movies, so
Mhm.
like, you understand why we like it.
Yeah.
Yes.
These originals are like very, you know, people all love them, and people all love them for a reason. So
Something I'm really happy about his tier list is all of the movies except for Episode 2 are in A and S tier right now. All the
I think-
original, the core movies, the
That's true.
6.
I think that I'm going to put it in S tier, actually.
yeah. That's
Really?
a fair
Okay.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost did. I almost did put it in S tier.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't have anything to complain about, and I think I like it more than Episode 4 and 1, like a considerable amount.
Yeah.
And then, it was my favorite as a kid of the sequels, was Return of the Jedi, of the originals, fucking sequels. It was my favorite as a kid, so I just kind of really have a great affinity for it. And I honestly I don't know if people complain about it, but I've heard some people, like, I do like the opening sequence with fuck, what is going on with me? Boba Fett and Jabba the Hutt.
Boba. Yeah, and some people didn't like
I
that,
think that's
which is
so
why it's
cool.
not probably as
I really like that
liked.
part. Like, I thought that was
Yeah,
really
I
cool
didn't have
how
complaints
Luke
about
had
it.
like a whole plan, and
Yeah.
they went to the Sarlacc pit, and Han was gonna die, and then like
yeah.
Han fell down, and he almost got swallowed up. They were like pulling him back up.
What else?
I
is
thought that
cool
was
is-
really cool.
Yeah.
I like that whole sequence.
I also like that when Luke was introduced, you're like, it's kind of like you're kind of thinking there for a second. Did he turn to the dark side?
Yeah, 'cause he's wearing all
choking those
black.
pigs, and he's wearing all black. You're like,
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
I've
That's
heard
funny.
people talk about that before, like when they were kids. Like, I low-key thought he turned to the dark side when I was a kid, like when they first. saw
Oh
him.
wow,
And I was like,
yeah,
that's actually crazy.
it makes
to think.
sense.
Yeah.
It was Jedi don't normally use Force choke.
No, and he was like all in shadow and everything, and
Yeah, all black.
Get a hood on.
He's
He meant
changing the norms
business,
for what it
too.
means to be a Jedi.
he meant business. This movie, I think I'm gonna move it to S tier.
See, Luke knew what the problem was with the Jedi. They were too narrow-minded and too strict in the rules.
Yeah.
He was just trying to get him away from him. He's like, bro, I'm gonna Force choke you. Get out of my face. Walks by him.
The Jedi texts.
With the Jedi
The Jedi texts. Yeah, Luke knew the flaws Jedi made. he fixed them in this universe. When we get to the freaking sequels, we'll talk about that. But yeah,
Right.
he knew what was going on.
So S or A tier. Now I feel
I
weird.
got mine at
asking-
top of A tier. There are a
I
few
have
little
an
weird
S
things in
tier.
it, so I'm going to keep it an A tier.
I prefer it to Rogue One, and I also have more of an emotional attachment to Rogue One. It also has the magic that Rogue One doesn't. So that's
Honestly,
why I have it in S tier. And I think I'm still on the fence on putting Rogue One at that low end of S tier or the very, very high end of A tier. Like, I don't know what to do there.
I'm also gonna
Yeah.
put Return of the Jedi in S tier just because it does have that magic for me. And I might put Rogue One there later too. I don't know, but if you guys are ready for The Mandalorian, I am.
Alrighty, A tier. We know why it's
So-
not an S tier.
Just to preface
That's right,
this,
yeah. Mandalorian's next.
William has not seen season 3.
No, I was told it was terrible. I'm not wasting 8 hours to watch it.
So yeah, spoiler alert. I watched it. Aaron, you watched it, right?
I did watch it.
We were both.
That's why.
We'll do a quick little season 3 rant for like 2 minutes. Just yeah. We all loved
Yeah.
season 1 and 2.
Bullshit.
Season 3. They just took a massive dip in quality, massive dip in storytelling. I don't really know what they were doing with the whole Bo-Katan taking over thing. I thought it was kind of out of left field. I thought it was very fan servicey. Bringing Moff Gideon back is just highly cringe. I think if it
It
was
sounds like it was kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah, bringing Moff Gideon back.
A lot of wokeness in it, wasn't there? Like,
yeah, it
really
just
push a man
felt-
to the side to replace him with a quote unquote woman, right?
It felt there was a lot of like that, yeah, new age.
Like pushing. Sorry, let me tell you. Pushing political agenda too much. It sounded like.
yeah.
It also sounded like they were almost, like you said, gave fan servicey. Like Bo-Katan's a character from the Clone
Yeah.
Wars, and to have her be a
Yeah.
main character of her own thing would be
she
like,
deserves the job.
oh,
yes.
everybody loves the Clone Wars, you know?
Yeah.
Like, let's give them what they want. But no, it just is done very
Didn't
poorly.
hit.
If they wanted to do that, they could have made her have her own show and have Mando have nothing to do with it. Because the
Honestly,
Mandalorian was not supposed to be about the Mandalorian race. It was supposed to be about our character Mandalorian, who's a bounty hunter, and his duty with this little creature to take him to the Jedi. And then after that, it just kind of went downhill because he took him to the Jedi, and that was peak.
because it sets
That was
up
peak.
this really riveting story throughout season 1 and 2 that leads straight directly into the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, to take over Mandalore. He's set up perfectly. You see his arc throughout this, that he's kind of like an unsuspecting hero. He doesn't really want these responsibilities at the beginning, but he has a soft spot. And then throughout the first 2 seasons, you kind of see him grow and become, and start to consider like, I care about this Mandalorian way of life, and maybe I want to see it through. But no, they just strip all that shit from him. They go fan service direction, in more ways than one, because of obviously bringing back Moff Gideon and having him. I don't know what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah, why did they bring
I
him
need
back?
to
What was going on?
He's trying to clone some.
Oh god, the
people-
clone stuff again.
He
I'm
was
so
trying
sick
to
of the cloning
make himself
thing.
He was trying to make himself
Force-sensitive.
force sensitive.
Oh,
Shoving
Christ,
metachlorians
yeah.
into his bloodstream. Is that what was going on?
There was like a bunch of Moff Gideon clones, and then they got
Oh,
all
God.
blown up. And guys,
Okay,
I'm
that
gonna
sounds
be
super
honest,
cringe.
If I'm ranking Mandalorian season 3, it's cringe. But if I'm ranking 1
Yeah.
and 2, it's S. So it's literally
Here's
like
the thing.
Yeah, 1 and 2 is S. Season 3 is cringe, so I'm putting it in B.
I might put it in A just because of how great season 1 and 2
I
are,
haven't seen
but-
season 3 yet, so it's an A for me.
Yeah, like
I'm not going to
I
watch
can't-
season 3.
Mhm.
I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to ranking the whole show as S tier, and then people are like,
not S tier. A tier.
I know it's an A for me.
like, it's still, season 3 is that
Here's the
bad.
thing.
Season 3 is cringe. It's
Season
like
1 and 2 is like its original story. It's a good story too. It's original, like one of the only good original ones made by Disney. A new character too, made by Disney. It's actually good,
Yes.
kind of amazing actually. I'm very proud of Lucasfilm for doing such a thing.
Same.
And then at the end of season 2 with Luke Skywalker, it's the only good depiction of Luke Skywalker before Disney bought it that we have.
Right.
after Disney bought it.
Yeah. So I think all of that justifies it to be an A tier. But
Yeah,
again, I haven't watched season 3.
I can totally get behind you saying that, but at the the same time, having seen season 3, I just feel like it's not fair to rank it A tier after that absolute mess and garbage fire was released.
Sounds like season 3 shouldn't have been a Mandalorian. Should have been called Bo-Katan.
That's what I'm. Yeah.
But
because the Mandalorian season 2 or Boba Fett. Okay, we'll get into that. But after the Mandalorian season 2, it kind of led into this, like you said, Gabe. Jin's gonna go become the king of Mandalore, and if he decided not to, they should have shown like what Jin was gonna do otherwise, instead of just say Bo-Katan is gonna take over the show instead.
Yeah, I just kind of want to go back, harken back to season 1 and season 2. Great Star Wars, right? This is everything people wanted from Disney Star Wars.
Oh, when they reintroduced Boba Fett, it was so cool.
They wanted original characters, original stories. They wanted something riveting. These are all things that seasons 1 and 2 had. They all led up to one goal, which was to, save this child and bring him to a place where he belonged, which was with the Jedi. And it was so utterly satisfying to see him, go with Luke. It was so bittersweet, at the same time. The emotion was so perfectly executed by Pedro Pascal and the whole cast. Even the CGI Luke, I didn't think it was that bad.
It was basically an end. There was like a full story written, and they had a big, like, kind of beginning, middle, and end. Like, there wasn't a season 3, but 2 and 3, but like the whole arc was like there, which is nice because you don't see that in filmmaking a lot. They usually try to drag it out until it dies and gets really bad. Like they could have ended on season 2, and they should have and made a new show called Bo-Katan, and like maybe Mandalorian was in it.
Mandalorian season 3, and then just kind of have him be the main character.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, like, if they wanted Bo-Katan, they should have had her in his own show and not taken away from Mandalorian.
Correct.
That's why I'm putting it in B tier.
Because I would have much rather have seen
sadly
the next step, which is okay. He doesn't have Grogu anymore. He's moved on. This is like a life lesson too. Things don't last forever. Right. And now his duty is to go and reclaim Mandalore. And maybe it's like this cool story of like he goes and brings all the Mandalorians back together, and there's like this big fight to like reclaim Mandalore. Like that would have been so much fun.
They like go to war.
Kind of what I was expecting from season 3.
A new war starts.
It would have been really good storytelling.
It set itself up very perfectly at the end of season 2,
but they're more focused on political agenda, it sounded like, and
the bag.
Fan service.
Fortunately, Lucasfilm is like that really bad right now. They don't seem to have like a good creative department for like managing these things. Like, okay, this was cool already, so let's go hire some new writers now. They don't understand what the last thing was written.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I'm putting it in B tier. But I'm ready to move on. I just feel like I'm beating a dead horse.
I also want to put it in B tier. I just want to preface though again, or reiterate, I should say.
You know what?
If this was season 1 and 2, I would have it in S tier. If this was purely season 3, I have it in cringe.
I want to put it in B tier too.
I'm gonna go ahead at the top of B for all the reasons that we just explained.
Yeah, you guys are right. I'm gonna put it in B tier too because it is part of his story, and also too, we're getting ready to get to Boba Fett, which is where Grogu chooses this, like Grogu and Mando stay together. I think that was bad storytelling.
God.
So that also helps with that too. So yeah, I'll put it in B tier as well. Great start, horrible finish, and I don't like seeing it next to Return of the Jedi, A New Hope, and Episode 1.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, so it's going in B tier.
All right.
Okay.
So with
Boba Fett, right?
Yeah,
that's next.
I think
cringe.
We're all in agreement that we're gonna just cringe.
Hot garbage. Who wants to explain why?
We can give a couple pointers here. I guess we'll go 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So Boba is it's unfortunately just a huge disappointment. We've all dreamed about this character, right? We've all loved this character.
Oh my god,
since we were
badass
kids.
Boba Fett on live action, beating people up, doing cool things.
That's all we wanted.
Being a bounty hunter.
We wanted
We didn't want little grandpa Boba Fett over here walking around with his helmet off for 90% of the show.
Yeah, just saying how he's gonna do the right thing, and he's made a complete 180, and with his entire life, he's got to be fucking 60 by now, and he just completely 180'd for God knows why.
It would have made so much more sense if he
Because
like
of the
did
sand
that, but
people.
he used like the way he knew how to do it, like from his world. Like I'm going to try to take control of this because the Hutt family fell, so like he takes control of that, but does it how the Boba Fett we knew before the show was, right?
Yeah.
So maybe like he had the incentive to like do it kind of for good, not really, but like just to create order, but not be like, oh, we're going to be the nice guy in that fight.
Like that's kind of the thing that I thought that they missed a huge opportunity for, is because Boba Fett, went through a very traumatic experience being basically eaten by the Sarlacc pit, right? So I think that would have been the perfect opportunity to have him change as a character and have it be a long drawn out thing. But I think that change can't be, it can't be as great as it was. They changed him to just be this grandpa dude when they had the perfect opportunity to change him from a cold-hearted criminal to a justified anti-hero.
The show was boring, to be honest.
I agree.
It was very boring.
I'd like to point out how do I put this?
Could have
How
been such a good anti-hero.
awful they made this character
Anti-hero.
portrayed during combat. Like, if you guys remember when those people pulled out their shields and got him pushed in a circle.
Oh my god, what was the combat in this
He
show? I
didn't
forgot.
use his jetpack. I don't even know if he had the jetpack.
Stuff like that.
But he didn't do
Annoyed the hell out of
anything.
me.
He just got hurt.
Yeah.
He was like, oh. It's like they've trained. Okay, so their explanation for him turning good was that he went through this traumatic experience. He was indoctrinated into the God, Lily, get out of the way. She's stepping on my keyboard. He was indoctrinated into this
That's
Tusken Raider.
That's Aaron's cat, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, just to preface, that is my cat. She's stepping all over my keyboard and my setup. But he was, brought into the Tusken Raider culture and taught all this hand-to-hand combat and all these good morals and things to, rules to follow and shit like that. And that just makes him
it's not
unable to fight.
It's not Boba Fett. Yeah, also too, it does make him fight.
It just makes him
Boba
unable
Fett,
to fight.
Here's the thing: Boba Fett is the best bounty hunter in a galaxy, right? Like the best. That's supposed.
He beat
that means
Luke.
he can deal with some people. Yeah, he beat Luke. He can give Darth Vader a run for his money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he can't beat him, but he could give Darth Vader a little fight before losing. I think it's even canon too, right? Where that little encounter he has with Darth Vader, where Darth Vader strikes him, he pulls out a lightsaber to defend himself, and then runs away. And then
Probably.
I'm pretty sure that's canon comic book. And Darth Vader, he is Darth Vader's number one go-to person for a bounty hunter. Like this guy knows what he's doing. And yeah, seeing him get beat up by some people holding shields was the most disrespectful, annoying.
Yeah.
The people that wrote this don't know who Boba Fett was.
I will say I agree with Gabe. It would have been cool to see him change, but more so into a cool anti-hero who kind of does his own thing.
Yeah.
Almost like Jin. Well, where Jin, I would say, is more of a hero, but he borders on that, edge of anti-hero.
Jin.
I'd like to Jin Djarin, Mando.
Oh, sorry. I think his name's Din.
Oh, is it?
I think it's Din Djarin.
Oh, it's Din Djarin. Yeah, Din Djarin. I'm
Okay.
not mentally well. I apologize, but I'd like to say Din is almost like an anti-hero as well, but he's just borders more on the hero side of things. And it would have been cool to see a version of Boba Fett like that, but where Boba is more willing to just fuck shit up. You know what I mean? Instead of take his helmet off and go discuss things. He should have barged in through those doors, killed that guy, and been like, "This is my place now." You know what I mean?
More like a Batman that kills.
Yeah, he could have been
something. That would have been
like Superior Spider-Man.
It would have been so cool. It would have been so much fun.
It would have even been nice to see him struggle with killing and his newfound morality. Be like, should I even still be killing people? You know what I'm saying?
That would have been cool to explore.
Yeah.
Literally anything could have been better. Just about anything could have been better in this.
Yeah, just about anything. Too, instead of just him being like, I
want to talk about
Buffett,
the choreography.
or the Tusken Raider.
Mm-hmm.
You talked about it a little bit, Aaron, with the shields. His choreography was super terrible. I hated the way So the whole build up when I was watching it, I actually watched it with Josh, and we were talking about this the whole time because the show was really boring. Like the whole show was about Boba Fett trying to be friends with everybody, and we just wanted to see him fight. And there was a build up to
Yeah,
a fight at the
he
end.
was just trying to be friends with everybody.
And man,
That's funny.
it was so slow, but we finally got to it, and it was the biggest letdown ever because it wasn't
Yes.
cool. It was him and Mandalorian standing there, and they were shooting, doing cute little poses as the camera pans around him. Like that's what we waited for, and then also too Boba Fett riding on the Rancor, which was kind of a cool callback to
It was
the
just fan service.
Oh yeah,
Christmas thing.
That's what.
But yeah,
yeah. His fan
like
service is what that
also
was.
too not knowing how their gear works. Like Boba Fett, his little grenades he has on his knee. That's for close
Uh-huh.
quarter combat, right? He gets in the hand to hand, he can knee someone and surprise him that it's like, oh look, my knee has little rocket missiles in him. You're dead. He always shoots him from long range. He'll like stand into like a little pose, like a ballerina pose, and shoot the rockets to someone far away. It made no sense. It was so irritating.
Yeah,
All
it
this-
was
all
bullshit.
this-
Sorry, I'm like super emotional about this. We're getting to the point where if you watch this, we're hardcore Star Wars fans at this point, right?
I'd like to
we're-
say, yeah, go ahead,
Hold
Wayne.
on, let William finish.
like you guys can probably tell like we're not happy with the recent changes Disney's made, and hopefully we explain our reasons really well,
Yes.
and you don't think we're just being haters because all this comes from love. We want to see Star Wars be good because there's so much potential for Star Wars.
I
Always
agree.
let us
All
know
this
what you
comes
think
from
in the comments
severe
below.
amounts of love.
This is all very opinionated stuff. I know there's half the population likes some of these films that we're getting ready to talk about, but just understand like it's just
Yeah.
coming from a place of love to see good Star Wars and actually respect the previous lore and the previous source material and don't just completely rewrite characters because it's disrespectful to George Lucas and the fan base that's supported Star Wars the past few decades to people before liking Star Wars was considered cool, right? Like people that like Star Wars and got bullied for liking it. It's disrespectful to those kind of people too that liked it at the risk of like kind of being like, oh, you like Star Wars, cringe, right?
Star Wars theory.
But yeah, with that being said, we won't try and harp on it too much on these future films because they're all obviously we're gonna have similar opinions on all of them. So we'll try and give our honest opinions without saying too much of that. People have said it; it's been all said before. And if you guys feel differently, please, like William said, feel free to leave it in the comments. We're all very interested to see different takes, and we understand there's a lot of people that have been growing up on this era of Star Wars, which, it is what it is. That's cool.
Yeah.
If you like it,
That's so shit.
Yeah. I want to remind you guys, the Mandalorian episode. Did you want to talk about that in Boba Fett?
I was just gonna bring that up. I was
actually. Go ahead, Aaron.
Okay. I was just gonna say, first of all, the reintroduction of Cad Bane. I think his first introduction where he fought the sheriff was kind of cool, and then they just absolutely let us down entirely.
Yeah.
We already had the half-made Clone Wars episode where he has a gunfight with Boba, and that was really all we needed. If they were going to bring back Cad Bane, they could have done something completely different. This was horrible way to do so. And as we were saying, the Mandalorian episode, I think, was the best part of this show. I think that was the best episode. It was an incredible episode for Mando's growth.
I think it's the episode one.
What's going to happen?
Mandalorian season 3 that we really.
I was just getting to that. Like, it was great to show what Din's doing after Grogu's gone, and then they ruined it. They absolutely ruined it.
Was it? I don't remember. Was it that episode where he takes Grogu back?
Yes.
I think it was.
Was
it in that episode? No.
Actually,
He doesn't.
No, the episode
He doesn't
ended.
take Grogu back.
The episode ended with Luke laying out Yoda's lightsaber, and saying like,
"Oh,
if you choose this,"
and he
path,
chooses the Mandalorian.
Yeah, but it's all like off
He was
screen.
Mando. Yeah.
I will say though, I wanted to say that episode has some fantastic fight scenes. That first scene with Mando is so intense. I wish that it was in a show about the Mandalorian. I wish that that's kind of the vibe you got from season 3, because it was such a good episode, and it was disappointing to see that they would take a full episode,
took away from Boba.
8 episode series to dedicate it all to Mandalorian, and wrapping up something that, one, didn't need to be wrapped up, that was already wrapped up in Mando season 2, and 2, they had no fucking right to bring Grogu back off screen of the Mandalorian show in a separate fucking show, taking away from Boba Fett's show to wrap up something that was unneeded.
It was very weird. I don't know.
So disrespectful. It's just incredibly cringe, and
it sucks because it was a cool episode.
That's what I'm saying.
It was a great
episode.
But it also
seeing Ahsoka with Luke was like one of the coolest things. I was like, oh my god, that's Anakin's Padawan. His dad's Padawan's right there. She could tell him everything she knew about Anakin Skywalker during the Clone Wars. Like, it's so cool just imagining that.
I agree, and but I agree with Gabe. Bringing Grogu back was the worst decision they ever made. It kind of was the first domino that fell in what is the garbage dumpster fire that is Mandalorian season 3.
You know what they did too? This is what makes me really irritated. You know they did it so they could sell that. It was all to sell toys. It was to have Mandalorian with Boba Fett or Yoda, Baby Yoda in the cockpit in the Naboo fighter. That was like it was so blatantly obvious. That's the only reason why they did that. Like, really destroying a story to sell some toys.
It blows, because there were, like we were literally talking about earlier, selling toys and how like that's what Star Wars has been all about, but not at the cost and sacrifice of the plot of the story.
Great sacrifice, yeah.
Like, this was a horrible attempt to do so, and they obviously blundered.
It doesn't make sense either, because he's a bounty hunter. He has nowhere to put the people he captures anymore either. Like, there's no logic behind it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, shows them like in the engine or something. Yeah, what are you saying?
Yeah, I was just gonna call back to that and say that it's unfortunate. They could have sold just as many toys making a new show with Luke and having Mando be on his own, but all that behind us now. Just a last thing, couple things on the in the last episode. It was just a big clusterfuck of who the fuck knows
characters.
What happened. Just people having their fan service moments, and the spotlight being taken away from Boba Fett at every god-given moment.
Rushed. It was like they were at like.
Cad Bane had about 10 seconds of screen time just to get smoked.
Yeah.
You gotta love
or
that.
Got cooked.
They just got
the guy that could kill a Jedi.
That's all that. The only reason that Cad Bane was there was to get eyes on the screens of Boba Fett's final episode, which is what they did, I guess. And anyways,
I have one last thing
about this, unless you guys want to.
I agree. I just have one last thing to say. One very last thing to say about Luke and Grogu. It would have been really cool to see Luke training Grogu, knowing that Yoda trained Luke. Like, the swap and like aesthetic and the swap. It's like a very cool contrast. Luke is now mastering Yoda, type of thing.
Yeah,
like very cool saying, parallel. That was such a good episode. It's unfortunate that it was.
Anyways,
where it was.
Disney Star Wars lots of opportunity, but not executed well.
Right.
Period. No more. Star Wars.
We're going to see that a lot in our next few movies here.
So
Star Wars 7.
I think we should take small turns on this one, and then we can kind of all conjoin and talk at the end.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
because there's a lot to be said about these 3 movies, but
Star Wars 7 is one of the easiest to talk about, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like William was saying, we're all early 2000s to late 90s kids, so you guys know where our heart truly lies. But I want to start this off by saying we might have a couple of disagreements about this film. I'm gonna put this film at the bottom of C tier, and I'm gonna give my reasons why. Some people might think that's low, some people might think that's high, but I think this movie played it extremely safe. Like, it was basically a carbon copy of Episode 4. It had the same tropes, the same sort of hero's journey. They brought back the Death Star, all the things like that. They had plenty of their fan service moments, which, when you're reviving a franchise like Star Wars, I know why they did that. You know, like it makes
There's
sense.
good opportunity for it, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they want to do the same thing. They want to sell toys. They want to bring people to the box office. They did both those things, and I can respect that because at the end of the day, like we were saying, that is a part of Star Wars. It's a part. It pertains to kids. They want to have a tried and true story that people won't get mad at. They played it safe, so I can respect that. Also, the action in this movie is really good. The movie's super pretty. It's the CGI is amazing. It's just great to look at. It doesn't piss you off as an old Star Wars fan. As a new Star Wars fan, it doesn't really piss you off either. Like the decision to kill Han Solo was the one and only like risk they took in this movie, and I honestly thought it paid off, or at least it had the potential of paying off.
Harrison Ford finally wanted it too.
Yeah, he was done.
Yeah.
He was like, finally, please, he's dead.
He took his $1 billion and then was like, all right, this is my last time.
Yeah.
Like, I think that guy hates Star Wars.
He made a quarter of the box office.
Yeah.
But quarter of the box office went on.
Then they brought him back in episode 9 for $2 billion.
Yeah. Like, please, we need people. It's in shambles. We need you screen time.
Okay, we'll get to 9 in a minute. That shit was.
But yeah, another thing, I think they set up Finn's character very well. I think that at the end of this movie, we are questionable if he has the Force. He also puts on a very brave performance against Kylo. He's a very likable character in this movie, an ex-stormtrooper that is, working with the rebels now, basically, and he obviously has a crush on Rey, which I think is pretty endearing in this movie. Kylo Ren is set up to be a fantastic villain, like murdering his father. Who is also a beloved character. That's a very start to a very intriguing plot line that goes nowhere. But Rey is kind of the only character that remains static throughout the whole thing, which, as you'll see, becomes a trend in this series. But I think there's definitely room for her improvement at this point. I think they set her up to be with Luke Skywalker, which is definitely a positive thing. I think at the end of this day, this movie did a lot of things right, but it also didn't really do a whole lot. I don't hate this movie. When I go back and watch it, I have a fun time watching it. It's pretty, like I said. It's kind of cool. It doesn't do anything that really pisses me off. It's a fun ride, but there's just not a lot of
they set up a lot of cool things. Introduction to a lot of new cool characters. Like, this built a foundation that could have made the next two movies really good.
I agree. Yeah.
They had something going. There was something cool going here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's really not a whole lot to complain about, other than the fact that it wasn't very original.
Yeah.
But they were trying something cool. You can go ahead, Aaron, and explain anything.
I mean, Gabe, you kind of
I don't really have anything else
all
to
the
say.
marks.
Gabe hit all the marks for me.
I do have to say one thing is the introduction of Snoke was kind of cool. Although he was obviously a Palpatine parallel, right. I think that he almost was different enough to be very intriguing. Right. Like, when I first watched it, I was all over the place. Like, oh my god, is Snoke Plagueis? Oh my god, is Snoke someone we've seen before? Like,
I remember those fan theories.
And then I would watch
cool.
videos all the time and like theorize all the time. Is Snoke from, like, has he been in the shadows since before the first movie? Like, type of shit. And
is Rey reincarnated Anakin Skywalker?
Is Rey reincarnated Anakin Skywalker? Is she the next chosen one? Did Snoke create Rey? Yeah. Or is Rey Luke's daughter? Is Rey Obi Wan's daughter? Like, there was a lot of cool theories that sprouted from this. But my point being with that one was Snoke. And obviously, like, it was just quite literally a carbon copy of number 4. Like, you have Grand Moff Tarkin in the orange-haired man, or whatever his name was.
No.
You have Kylo Ren with Darth Vader.
Tarkin. Oh, I know what you're saying. My bad.
Yeah, okay. I was like, yeah. But Han Solo, obviously, Finn, Rey is literally Luke Skywalker.
And too safe.
What my biggest complaint with this movie is not that it's unoriginal, is that Rey is such a poor quality character, even from the start. Like, she knows everything already. She's perfect already. She doesn't lose. She doesn't get hurt. She actually defeats Kylo, and I think that's a big, big, huge deficit.
Kylo
because
did
if
get
the
shot
only
with the bowcaster, just gonna throw that out there.
oh, well, sure. But
Bro's literally bleeding out of his abdomen.
yeah, I know, but he actually blitzed. He cooked Finn, bro. He cooked
Finn.
Finn.
Isn't even force sensitive.
Oh, sure, yeah. That's well, yeah, he kind of is.
I don't know.
We don't know, do we?
Yeah, no, we never.
We don't really know, but I mean,
I don't think the director knows either. They were.
Nah.
yeah, I don't think.
No one knew.
But I'm just saying, if he cooked Finn like that, then he should have been able to at least,
I understand your point, Aaron, because
he should have been at least able to like cut her in the wrist or like poke her in the thigh or something like that. Like,
I mean,
Finn got his spine cut, like all up and down his back. You know what I mean? Yeah, go ahead.
The reason I can justify him not doing much against Rey is, like, bro had done so much leading up to that. The whole movie they spent so much time foreshadowing how powerful that bowcaster was. It was like knocking stormtroopers 20 feet back in the air type shit. And bro gets shot
that's actually
true in the gut, and then fights
that's
runs
actually
across
facts.
like fucking miles to go stop them. And then
he was very emotional
fights
too.
Finn.
He killed his dad, which was he's very emotionally shattered and injured.
Right.
So that is, I don't like those reasons, honestly, but it's good enough to make it slide just barely.
It is good enough to make it slide just barely.
I agree.
But
they weren't good reasons. I don't think they were actually really good reasons, but they it's fine, whatever.
Yeah, I will agree.
There is a concern.
I totally forgot that the bowcaster was being like
hyped,
glazed as much as it was throughout the whole film. I stand by the fact that I think Rey is just such a poorly written character. She doesn't she is just good at everything. There's no learning. She doesn't learn jack.
Well, I think she doesn't even really get the chance to learn in this movie, but I understand what you're saying. We can talk more about Rey in the next movies.
Well, I want to bring this up because the stuff Aaron's talking about, this is like the first seeds that cause a lot of problems in the show, because they're reworking the way the Force works, how lethal weapons are, like lightsabers and blasters. This is where, like, this show, these are the kind of things you think about like weeks after watching it. Like, I like this movie a lot more when I saw it. And then you start thinking about it, and the show feels like fool's gold. It is fool's gold. It's way better on the surface. Then you start dissecting small things like that, and it gets way worse. Like a lot of Disney Star Wars, people are getting chopped up by lightsabers and getting stabbed, being shot. It doesn't make any sense because beforehand, a lightsaber wound was very, very dangerous.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
and getting shot by blasters because they're lasers. They melt your insides and blow you up and stuff. And there's a lot of really small things. Like, for example, that blaster, Chewie's gun. Yeah, I call him Chewie. Okay. Chewie.
I forgot about that. Wait, how did that start? I forgot about that.
I forgot about it too.
I think that was when we were playing the Lego game, wasn't it?
Chewie.
Until just now.
Name my dog that, Chewie. Oh, Siri's turned on after. Oh my God. Siri turned on after saying Chewie. Oh my God.
Crazy.
That's hilarious. No, go away, Siri.
Go on, William.
Yeah.
Who shot that? Han Solo? Han Solo shouldn't have been able to shoot that. Oh,
no.
Oh yeah, that's right. Chewie shot it. Someone else shot it though. Someone picked up his bow and shot it. Who did that? Was that in this movie?
Shoot. I think Han asked if he could try it out. Maybe is that what happened? He's like,
I don't know if it's just, but this was an example of the inconsistencies, because technically a human shouldn't be able to shoot Chewbacca's bow gun, because it has extreme recoil. It was meant for Wookiees to use. That's why it's so powerful, because they could shoot it and not fly back. It would fly out your hands and hit you in the face if someone shot it. So things like that. Also, too, the Force is starting to be treated more like a superpower. And I do understand Aaron's concern with. I think Rey should have lost that fight too, because a Jedi, like before these movies, a Jedi would go to a temple and learn for years how to wield the Force. Even if they were super powerful in it, it was a very difficult thing to train. And same with lightsaber combat, you're just not good at that, right? I'm a martial artist, with like people are watching in the background. Experience determines how good you are, like through and through. So if you're someone that's never picked up a sword before, you're going to lose to someone that has been using a sword for years and doing it very vigorously. Even if they're tired or hurt, they're just going to know techniques to keep you back and do what they need to do. Obviously, it might not have been, I guess, really well cinematic like that, right? It would be kind of boring, but those are real problems, which kind of leads into the whole. We'll get back to that in the other two movies with Rey being way too talented, and having no training in the background.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I just want to give that spiel. These are why people don't like. These are reasons why people don't like it. Another thing too. They set up a lot of cool characters, but the core of this is a little flawed. I know to some people too, because it kind of undoes the whole Chosen One thing with Anakin Skywalker. Obviously, why the hell is there like another Death Star after like 20, 30 years? The whole thing is a little shaky. Like the whole start of it is kind of shaky. It's like, what are they doing? Like undoing
just having an episode
everything else
in the first place is kind of it kind of goes against canon of the.
At least this setup, right? Like a new Emperor and a new Darth Vader, like 30 years later. Mm-hmm. But then again, wasn't a good decision, I don't think.
It's kind of like that in Legends too. Like Han's kids turn evil and stuff. Like
yeah, a couple of them do.
I know that wasn't.
They come back.
And I agree with you, William, that it is kind of flawed from the start. But I also don't want to let that kind of like knock the movie down. But I agree.
I know that knocks the movie down for a lot of people though, which is why I brought it up.
Right.
I think I'm
to bring these things up too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I understand what you guys are saying totally. I think that Kylo should have beat her too, but Kylo technically didn't lose. Like the whole planet started falling apart and they got separated. Remember?
Yeah,
that's true.
You're right.
He would have killed her for sure for shizzle.
Also,
but
a lot of the problems that many people, all of us included, have with the sequels don't really take place that much in this movie. But
agreed.
Like if you're like what I'm trying to do right now to the best of my ability is like completely ignore the rest of the sequels. Just take the movie at face value, and if I do that, I'm not seeing a lot of like flaws with it. Like with like the ruining of the Force and the bowcaster thing.
It's very subtle things.
It's very subtle things that you if you look at the other movies, you can be like, oh yeah, I can totally see how that is brewing.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just look at this movie as a whole, it hasn't really taken a hold yet, and the real heresies start in the next film.
Yeah, and that's why I think sitting it at the low end, bottom of C, is very much deserving. Because
I'm throwing mine in C tier too. You actually convinced me, Gabe. I was going to put in D tier, but you convinced me.
I agree with everything Gabe said, but I also, the two biggest things for me are just Rey's character and its incapability to be original. Like I've been harping on that for the past couple months now to Gabe and William separately outside of this, just how I fucking despise remakes. I know this is like, almost like going on 10 years now here soon, but I'm just so tired of it. I want nothing. I want original stories again. I want original stories again. I want original stories again, and this just was unable to meet that mark. This was just. I just want good original stories. I don't care about what the fuck the story is. If it's good, it's good. And this was unable to do that, and Rey's character was poor quality. But other than that, good.
It's really funny seeing this film with Star Wars Rebels
I have a good watch.
and the Clone Wars thing, the Ahsoka
and
Clone Wars.
Yeah,
I honestly
but that's where it goes.
Yeah,
I do too. I agree, Gabe. I enjoy it. I think this is a good placement. I have it below Clone Wars movie, and I have it below Attack of the Clones. But
Yeah.
it's fitting.
No, you made some really good
Anyways.
arguments for it, Gabe. I was going to put it in a D tier. You're totally right with things you said, and I think it's much more fair to put it in C tier after hearing all those points you brought up.
Right. I do think a lot of people tend to lump this movie in with the rest just because of what a dumpster fire the whole trilogy ended up being, but I remember being a kid and even an adult being like, every time I come back to this movie, it just, it doesn't really have a lot of...
Another big opportunity that was missed, though, with this, too, killing Han Solo, was... This would have been the perfect... Like, people throw around the word fan service like it's always a bad thing. It's not always a bad thing. It can be good. And one of the times it would have been really good, the callback to the OGs and the original Star Wars, was to have Han Solo, Princess Leia, and Luke all on the same screen. That was one of the biggest misses in the 21st century. It was very, very sad that went over these apparently really good directors' heads. That's something I'm very, very upset about. But obviously, we know the directors don't really care about Star Wars. They've even admitted it. J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, and the person who made Obi-Wan too, I think, all commented that they don't like Star Wars.
That's crazy.
Which is very irritating. Obviously, I shouldn't have to explain why. But yeah, that's another one thing I want to bring up, because I know that's actually another thing people didn't like about it too, was killing Han Solo got rid of that potential.
Right.
Have that.
Definitely
but anyway,
could agree with that, but yeah, I'm ready to move on.
The Last Jedi.
Okay. All right, Jesus.
Did you guys want me to start this one too, or does anyone have any rapid?
I think Aaron should start. Aaron, I don't think you've started with one, have you?
I don't know if I have or not.
You start.
I
Aaron,
will.
If you want to.
So this movie, I think, shines out of all three of them in its visuals. It is such a gorgeous movie, and not only that, it sounds gorgeous. It sounds just incredible. The visuals and the audio are just out of this world. Past that, there's not a lot to like. I will say, first of all,
of the Star Wars.
The destruction of... This is where Star Wars really crumbles into a big pile of ash. No, this is where the fire starts.
Yeah, this is where Rogue One
after this
happened.
movie, it's ash.
There's Rogue One, then Episode 7.
Yeah.
This is where it really starts to fall, huh?
Yep, exactly. Luke's character is taken in the opening scene and stomped on. Stomped on like a damn cigarette butt. Like he's given this lightsaber that he hasn't seen since fucking he got his hand cut off, and he throws it behind him. It's like, dude, that completely in one scene erases everything that this character ever was. It erases any love he had for his father, any care he had for the Jedi Order, any amount of, heroism, any amount of bravery or courage is all wiped away. And to go on through the whole movie, he's the same over and over again, refusing to train Rey for whatever goddamn reason, saying the Jedi are over, I've failed, it's all my fault, there's no way, there's no hope.
It's not
completely out of character. It's not Luke Skywalker, it's Jake Skywalker, I'd like to point out. This is Jake. This is Jake, bro,
Skywalker. That's what Mark Hamill said.
That is exactly what Mark Hamill said, yeah. And I'd like to point out, it apparently all stems from him having evil premonitions of Kylo turning to the dark side, and then he attempts to kill Kylo. And then from then on, it's like, oh no, what have I done? I'm just gonna let Kylo get swooned.
Yeah, someone that redeemed Darth Vader going through that didn't make any. It was totally out of character.
I'd like to point out, he attempted to kill Kylo, and then he just let Kylo turn to the dark side after that because he gave up. He's like, well, whatever. Fuck it. I'm leaving. I'll leave everyone to their duties. Which was so bullshit. And, I'm just tired of Luke's character. And then at the
Yeah,
end
it's
when he
not.
when he shows up to fight Kylo and it's not even him. I think that was in the moment I was like,
Oh
"Oh my
yeah,
god,
that
this is so
was
cool. He's
irritating.
using extreme force abilities to do this." But then
Uh,
later thinking on it, I'm like, that's so dumb. Like his final doing of good, he couldn't even be there. It's almost like a final fuck you. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it is.
And
Let me add
like
an
he's
example real quick before you go
yeah
too much into the end scene, just so people
okay
understand why we feel this way. Uh, it's we think it's bad story writing because like people learn through time, right? Luke Skywalker is definitely a character that would have learned from his lessons. So he went through all this growth in the original trilogy, and he learned what it means to be a true Jedi by the end of Star Wars 6. So it doesn't really make any sense for him to start repeating the same mistakes. Also, too, the Jedi Order, the whole reason why the Jedi Order fell was kind of like ignorance and turning a blind eye to the dark side,
hmm
um, which he did with Kylo Ren, and all that doesn't really make any sense. It's poor story writing because
hmm
he like what did he not do? Learn from his lessons? Did he forget everything he learned from Yoda, Obi-Wan, everything on how the Jedi Order fell? He
hmm
redeemed Darth Vader, which is an impossible task. Ahsoka couldn't do
hmm
it. Obi-Wan couldn't do it. It took his son to do it. And that's why we have an issue with this. It's just not good story
yeah.
writing.
It's so
It's
beautiful to
out of
see
character.
Luke. It is so out of character. Like the way you said that, like Ahsoka, who was the reason for Luke's down, like for Luke turning to the dark side, her leaving the Jedi Order,
Anakin.
and Obi Wan, who was his, father figure, couldn't do anything. It took this, figure of hope, his son, to do it, and for him to just like have a bad dream and that's it. Like that's game. Bro's cooked after a nightmare is just depressing. And not to
Yeah.
mention, moving on past Luke,
Ah, well,
it's
actually, since
the
we're on the
movie's
topic
kind
of
of
Luke,
all over the place.
do
Yeah,
we want to stay on it? Because Luke's a really, really big part of this movie. Do we want to stay on that
yeah.
topic and then
Yeah,
move to the other parts of the movie? Because I think
yeah.
Gabe has, yeah, you have stuff to say on Luke, I assume.
I've got a couple things to say. I mean, I kind of got. Yeah, here. Aaron.
Because I
said
know
a lot of
you.
this stuff.
I want to tell the
Yeah.
audience this real quick. Gabe is a huge Luke Skywalker fan.
Yeah, yeah.
He's
Let's
someone that
like,
represents. There's a lot of people out there that really looked up Luke Skywalker and looked at him as like a role model, like you said earlier.
Mhm.
I wasn't one of those people,
Mhm.
and I sympathize for Luke a lot more after talking to you,
Right.
and kind of had my eyes open to people that I kind of forget how much people like Luke Skywalker. I was a Clone Wars guy. Like Clone Wars really kept me into Star Wars,
Right.
and I got into like Captain Rex and Ahsoka.
Mhm.
So I'm not emotionally attached to Luke Skywalker like you are. At least
Right.
I used to not be.
Right.
So I know this really sucked, probably for people
Yeah.
like you.
No. Yeah. Thanks for
You in
saying
theory.
that, dude. Because definitely, being a kid, Luke and Anakin were always the ones that I looked up to the most. Luke definitely kept a level head on my shoulders, and I definitely looked up to him a lot. Not even throughout my childhood, but my adulthood as well. So. Yeah. With that being said, just kind of doubling down on what Aaron said. Aaron was talking about a lot of specifics that were very bothersome, and they just sucked to see on screen. But yeah, just it was definitely a shock to see such a broken down, fearful, scared version of such a powerful, strong-willed character. More strong-willed than he even was strong with the Force. That was the thing that me personally, I looked up to so much with Luke, was just his resiliency and his
Grit.
his grit, his ability to withstand the dark side and learn from his mistakes, like William said. So yeah, seeing that character just kind of be reduced to a I don't even know what to call him, but
a little bitch.
Yeah,
Shell.
for lack of better phrasing, definitely. But
It's a big middle finger to Luke Skywalker fans.
and,
This
and
whole
you,
Luke Skywalker is a
and you,
big fuck you to
yeah,
Luke Skywalker fans.
not even Luke Skywalker fans is
Just Star
I
Wars
mean,
fans
just
in
the
general.
Star Wars fans, because you can tell with the movie that this guy Ryan Johnson wanted to piss people off. He wanted to make people
what is
angry.
it?
He wanted to.
You wanted to be divisive? Is that the word?
He admitted to wanting to make a
He-
movie like that too.
He wanted to just crumble the mythology that Star Wars has spent so much time building, and that J.J. Abrams tried his best to honestly
Fix
keep
it,
up.
but
And just he did his best to glorify what Star Wars is, and they
You
just
wanted to be
completely-
divisive.
They completely handed the reins over to Ryan Johnson, and he did this.
yeah, it's not even their fault. It's the creative department's fault for giving the
full
director full
control.
creative control when they have when you have a trilogy and a franchise like Star Wars, you need to have a creative department
Right.
keeping things in check, right?
You can't just give it all to the director.
You can't just go YOLO and throw spaghetti at the wall for each movie, which they
Yeah.
kind of did.
I'd like to point
Higgins?
out. Oh shit! It's lost me.
Real quick.
Oh, I'd like to point out. Oh yeah, go ahead, Gabe.
Yes, seeing Luke just lose all hopes and dreams because of a vision is very frustrating.
Out of
but,
character.
Yeah, let me know when you guys want to move on. I kind of want to say.
I do have one other
about something else
point to
before-
bring up with Luke Skywalker that I forgot about. Another really huge flaw from the previous movie, Force Awakens.
Mhm.
Luke Skywalker goes into hiding, right? I haven't watched these movies in a while now, but I kind of forget why he goes into hiding. I know part of it's to raise a new Jedi Order, but I guess like he thought he failed, so he kind of fell off the face of the galaxy.
I don't think there was a
The Force
reason
Awakens
given.
Cleared it up.
He
Yeah,
didn't
until the
want
second
people to
one.
find him. He wanted to go hide.
Right.
Oh, I remember what it is. So, okay, this is the whole thing. He goes off to train new Jedi, right? And he wants to do it in isolation, but he leaves a map for his location for people to come and find him if the galaxy needs him again. They go there to go find him, and he doesn't want to help anybody. Another huge problem with
That's crazy.
the storytelling.
Yeah, I didn't even
or
think
writing.
of that. That's insane.
That is crazy. I
So-
forgot about that too.
I'd like to point out one more thing about Luke before we move on to the rest of this movie. I'd like to call back to our last tier list with Uncle Iroh, with what William said. If he's like this he's like this perfect vision of masculinity. I kind of see that in Luke as well, and in Luke in episode 6, that is. He's like this. Everything that you want to be. He's everything that you can look up to in a person is that version of Luke. He's loving and caring and accepting, and he's strong and he's brave and he's courageous, And then for everything, every one of those aspects that I just listed are completely flipped on their head in this movie. And it's kind of like, it's just kind of hurtful. It really hurts to see that. Because there's no real reason for those aspects to go away. Like, attributes to a person don't just leave you like that. Do you know what I mean? You make a mistake, and if you are a person like Luke is, you don't change who you are.
Yeah, he should have gotten
fix it.
better. Like he should have been
Fix it.
those traits even
Exactly.
amplified at this time.
Exactly. I 100% agree. It's like, this is not an eligible excuse for the way they changed his character, and it's just, it hurts. It sucks. It's really bullshit.
They set it up
But-
almost like Luke redeemed Darth Vader, and now it's Rey's turn to redeem Luke.
No,
Really,
yeah,
Makes me want to. So this also
I
too,
hate
people listening to this,
that.
like, I think only Star Wars fans would watch this. But if you're not like super hardcore Star Wars fan, you're here. Oh, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
We
Yes,
would understand
yeah,
why
very
people
much.
would put this in a higher ranking without all the context for stuff like Luke Skywalker.
Of course.
This
but I'd
this
like to-
movie wasn't a Star Wars movie, it would have been pretty cool. But this is a big reason why people hate this movie, specifically Star Wars fans, is because of Luke Skywalker, for example, how they handled him. Even Mark Hamill, after the movie came out, tons of clips of him talking about or hinting at that the Luke wasn't going to be good. And then after it came out, he talked about it all the time. He was like, "Yeah, this was not Luke Skywalker." He tried to tell Rian Johnson that this is not going to work. People aren't going to like this, but he didn't listen to him. He basically gave him the middle finger.
Mm. I'm ready to move on to the rest of the movie if you guys are.
Yeah. So yeah, just to give we spent so much time on Luke, which is the main disappointment in this movie, but I'll do a little recap on the whole movie. I think there was a lot of interesting ideas that Rian Johnson had. Otherwise, I think that the having the Rebel Alliance reduced to a couple of ships being hunted down by the First Order was kind of an intriguing thing. Having them,
I 100% agree with that.
Having to think on their toes, having them really be pressed for, a way out. It was also a good opportunity to let us see this side of Poe that was kind of neat. I liked seeing him be totally fed up with the girl with the purple hair. I don't know her name, but she was. I loved seeing his
her existence fed people up.
Yeah, I loved seeing her his appearance. Urgency. It added a lot to his character that I think didn't have a lot of meat and bones in the first one. So it was neat.
We completely didn't even.
It was neat to see.
We didn't even talk about him.
Yeah, no, he didn't really have a big part. But anyways,
yeah,
I want to finish this by saying it was neat to see him kind of come into his own character. He was definitely a strong point in this movie. It was.
I would agree with that.
Going and moving into the casino part. It's obviously just one big massive. I don't know what you want to call it.
It was a waste of time, is what that was.
It was a
big waste of time. They ruined
statement that they brought into Star Wars. Oh, capitalism is bad. Casinos are bad. Animal cruelty, things that you don't really want to see. I understand whatever they want to make a statement, but like when you're going to Star Wars to escape from real life, the last thing you want to be reminded of is something that is a problem in real life. And you don't want to bring politics and personal interest into a property like Star Wars. It leads to...
Or at least show a solution if you want to do that, right? They never show a solution to these things. They just say, oh yeah, this exists. It's like, thanks, alrighty. And Poe's character was ruined because of this too. Like, this is what his character was used for. Or not Poe, Finn.
Finn.
Yeah, so harkening back to my compliment to Finn's character at the beginning, saying they set him up really well. Like William said, they didn't do anything with this. They reduced him to this very subpar plot line and didn't move his character forward at all. I'm going to say the same thing with Rey. Her character was not moved forward at all. Same thing with Kylo Ren. His character was not moved forward at all. This big, giant, exciting part of Episode 7, which was Snoke, his head was literally cut off, just cutting off the whole... With his head came off the fucking wheels
of
his
body
franchise or whatever.
Oh yeah,
I don't even remember.
I could say
with his death, that was the end of the franchise because J.J. Abrams set up Rian Johnson and he set him up to be able to tell an intriguing story, which he left nothing.
Ryan was like, nah.
He literally killed everything.
I'm gonna do what I want because my ego's too big for everybody.
Yeah. I'd like to add a little bit to that. I think Kylo's character definitely had potential at the end of this movie. Like, he chose to kill Snoke and
Kylo was not
betray that, and then he was like, yeah, of course, and that's and then he was like, Rey, join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as one, type shit, which I think was kind of
trying to do something interesting.
And then Rey was like, no, and then Kylo was kind of built up to be this like really evil big bad guy. Like, he was the new big bad superpower, which was the first tweak in the original trilogy that was actually, or like, because they were following that same formula of the original trilogy. You have Snoke, Kylo, Rey, la la la. Kylo now becoming the new big bad is first tweak that was like, oh shit, this could be interesting. This could lead to something kind of neat. No, it doesn't. But it was kind of a cool ending, and I think it leads
It was, yeah.
into a potential like scary character in Kylo. Like he could come back in the next movie with a new outfit, a new mindset. Fuck, like he's evil, like ready to fuck shit up. He already killed his dad. He's killed his master, which is exactly the plot line for a Sith Lord. They always kill their master, right? Which was kind of neat. And I'd like to say as well, back to Canto Bite, the end credit scene was that child force pulling the broom to his hand.
I forgot about that.
That's it. That's all we get. Okay. Goodbye. Okay. No more Canto Bite. No more kid. No more force.
Yeah, we didn't.
That's all we see of him. Like it leads into this.
I thought
like, oh shit!
I thought I was building something
maybe
up.
This kid, yeah, maybe this kid's gonna have a big part in the next movie. Maybe there's gonna be a time skip. Maybe and Kylo's really evil now. Oh shit! What?
Yeah, all the fan theories were better than what we ended up getting.
Yeah, that's why yeah, I get.
Kylo in general is probably the only consistency in all three of these movies. Actually,
really the only good character.
Yes. I don't really have a problem with, because not to get
agree.
into Rise of Skywalker yet, although we should probably go there.
Yeah,
Kylo's character kind of doesn't really have a negative arc. I think they actually do a good job with him. I don't know how he survived this dumpster fire of a series, but
yeah, I don't know either, but he did.
Yeah, he did a good job handling it all.
Wasn't even. I thought it was all right too.
It was
decent.
Do we want to bring up Princess Leia real quick?
Oh,
she's
kind
of.
Oh yeah, I actually had something to say. Sorry, if you guys don't mind.
Have you heard it? It was really cool. Her using the Force though was kind of weird.
I think the way she used the Force was very silly, but I think it was cool that she was like put into a coma for a while, and then the Resistance were like, "Oh shit, we've lost our leader. We're out of fuel. The what are they called? The First Order are right on our tail. We don't have anyone to lead us. So there's no morale." It was kind of
definitely a cool setup. And it was dramatic and exciting.
Yeah, exactly. It brought up that what Gabe mentioned with Poe and the purple-haired lady, and they butted heads, and then what happened. But I think it was cool because without Leia going into her coma, that wouldn't have happened, and it added a lot more interest and a lot more tension to the film than there wouldn't have been otherwise. Also, I would like to say that Leia throughout these three movies is very static and a little disappointing.
Agreed.
Yeah, there was. See, if this wasn't really a Star Wars movie, or if maybe Rian Johnson started with the first movie and built his own thing, this probably would have been a lot better. He clearly wanted to do his own thing, and I get that. And this movie had so much potential to be good, but because it was set up beforehand, and also too, his twist on Luke Skywalker was very mean, disrespectful.
Poor.
I do want to bring up. You reminded me something, Aaron, with the Rebels. So, the Republic's been reestablished. So why do Rebels even exist to begin with? It doesn't make any sense. So that's another big thing with the story writing. People don't like Star Wars fans that follow the lore really closely. This whole plot, this whole setting, doesn't make any sense because the Republic is reestablished after the fall of the Empire. So I think Leia should, if she's a leader of something, it would be like she's the Chancellor or something, or like has she's one of the higher seats in the Council of the Republic.
I believe, because the Republic was still a thing until the 7th movie, and then the new Death Star destroyed all. Yeah, I guess they destroyed it that the Republic was on. I think is what happened.
I want to run that out there too. A lot of weird storytelling points. Choreography too. It was pretty on the surface, but if you dissect it, it was actually pretty bad. Lots of people in the background just kind of spinning in 360s, not doing anything. The way the Force works gets amplified. The flaws, or how they clearly show the Force shouldn't work. Like it's treated more like a superpower rather than this mystical thing you must spend time like to wield the Force. You have to really discover yourself. That's why it takes years to figure it out, and it's more of a
Right.
superpower in this, which people don't like.
I agree.
I mean, Luke
But
dying from
I'm
using the Force
thinking-
too hard to use the Force projection was really stupid.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was terrible. He
Um,
should have just gone to the planet. But
After everything we've talked about, I think I'm gonna just toss this in cringe tier. I don't like it.
Yeah, me too. I can't. I was putting it in D tier originally,
Yeah,
but
me too.
It's,
Me too.
it's cringe. It's not good. It's just
it
not
is
good.
cringe.
My
It's
plan
definitely
was
not
also
cringe
putting it
tier.
in D tier. My plan was also to put it in D tier, but it's just
If it wasn't a
doesn't
Star Wars
belong there.
movie, it would have
Yeah.
been a lot better. But it's
Yeah.
a Star Wars
I
movie.
think-
It's a Star Wars movie, and it's a terrible one.
So, here's my thing. I like it about 100 times more than both Boba Fett and Rise of Skywalker, and there are more positives to this movie than I really saw before talking about it. Like, I love Kylo's character development, I love the visuals, and I love the audio, and I love what they did with Poe, and the whole Resistance thing was kind of neat. But so
Not enough to
I'm
move
very
in
on
D tier
edge
for
of
me.
like, but it doesn't
Like I
belong
said,
with
the
Solo and
setting-
Bad Batch.
The setting doesn't make sense to begin with. It's the
Like,
problem, like with the Resistance
I
stuff.
almost want to make like a new tier, like just for
Yeah.
it. But I'm gonna keep it at the top of my cringe tier for now.
I'm throwing it
just
in
because-
cringe.
Boba Fett and the next one are both.
Mine is
far,
also going
far
in
worse.
cringe, and I will start us off with The Rise of Skywalker. It's at the very bottom of my list. I think it's without a doubt the worst Star Wars movie and the worst medium of Star Wars ever made.
It's one of the worst movies ever made. It's not even a good movie outside of Star Wars.
This is like
Yeah.
the
I'm gonna
last
give a quick
Airbender
sum
movie.
up, and then you guys can give your thoughts so we can kind of get through this one a little bit faster. But
Yeah, we might not. We'll go through this a little faster. But there's people have made
Yeah.
like 4-hour-long videos dissecting every part of this
Yeah,
movie.
I don't want to
If you-
get too
if you wanna
emotionally
go-
charged with it either.
You go watch those if you want to have really in depth. So we'll just give our overviews on why we
Yeah.
don't
Yeah,
really like
we'll
it.
direct you. We'll direct you over to Star Wars Theory for more
Yeah.
information on this movie.
okay, so
Anyways, Gabe.
I think this movie's a complete dumpster fire. I think they were scrambling at every opportunity they could possibly have made for themselves to clean up, quote unquote, the mess of The Last Jedi. They knew the fandom was in shambles. They knew everybody was angry. They wanted to put as much fan service in this movie as they possibly could, which is why they brought back Emperor Palpatine, which was the worst mistake in cinema history. It makes me sick just talking about it. Other than that, they also the end of this movie is incredibly cringe. The only thing that was slightly riveting was having Kylo turn to the good side. It was kind of neat to see a different side of him that you always knew was there. But seeing Rey just single-handedly take on the Emperor with the voices of all the other Jedi we know and love in her head was something that just shouldn't have existed in the first place, especially on this random ass planet that was only able to be found with this dagger on this random ass planet that was only to be found from Lando, and Rey was
Hey, don't forget about the crashed Death Star.
Rey was force healing people, and Chewbacca died, but he wasn't really dead. And then
I forgot about that.
Oh wait, Rey's the Palpatine's daughter. Wait, what? Oh wait, no, granddaughter. Oh, she's powerful. Okay, Han Solo's back. Wait, no, he's just a vision. Luke Skywalker has changed his mind again, and he's now totally cool.
The clickbait with her going to the dark side in the trailer.
Yeah, that was total shit.
Oh my god, that was fucking crazy.
This movie is a poor attempt at redemption to The Last Jedi, and it turns out in just to be kind of a bionicle or a transformer of
Finn's
a-
characters like nothing at this point.
Yeah, it's
Finn's
going
character
around-
is now.
junk.
He's like, I need to tell you something.
Yeah, he says,
I
I
need
need
to
to
tell
tell you something the whole fucking
And we never know
movie.
what he says. We never figure it out. They never tell us.
This movie is just very
It's just a bad
poorly
movie.
made, and I feel bad for the people that made it.
No story in this
Because
movie.
I know they're capable of better, but they were
Yeah.
just
Lost.
driven. They were driven by.
You could tell they didn't
by-
care.
They were driven by fear.
Yeah,
by
fear.
anger towards the last movie, because it feels like there's like a
right.
back and forth going on.
you
J.J.
guys
Abrams
can
makes
go
the
ahead
first
now,
movie.
I guess.
Sorry, yeah,
I don't
J.J.
really have a
Abrams
lot to
makes the
say. I don't
first
want to get
movie.
into it too much on my end.
Yeah, I don't want to get into it too much either because it's gonna get real emotionally charged.
It's obvious
real
why this
fast.
movie's bad.
But
Bad
what
for
I was
Star
saying
Wars, it's
was
a bad movie.
the first movie is made by J.J. Abrams. Ryan Johnson makes the second movie. It's completely different. Throws away everything that the first movie makes, and then they give it back to J.J. Abrams, and he's like, "Okay, fuck you. I'm gonna do the same thing." So it was like they were just
between them.
it was a tug of war. Like they
It
weren't
was really weird.
focusing on what they were making. Instead, we can see clearly they weren't focusing on what they were making by the fact that Finn has something to say the whole damn movie, and there was nothing at all to be said. And Finn is now like getting premonitions of Rey's like well-being. Rey, she's hurt. Like that's his favorite word is Rey. He's just screaming Rey the whole damn movie. Lando comes in at the end with the entire galaxy on his heels. Yeah, it's bullshit. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I'll bring up like one little thing, because again, there are people that watched this that liked it.
Jar Jar Binks is
very
back.
big Star Wars fans. Although it is a bad movie. Like it's cool, it's nice to watch, it's fun, but like, and we all like bad movies, right? So I can see if you like it just because of the effects and everything.
Yeah, the effects and the visuals are incredible too.
The storytelling's terrible, but what it does for the lore too is very horrible. At this point, the Force can just be anything you imagine it to be. The Force heal with Rey undoes a lot of things. Like, why doesn't Anakin get Force healed when he was burning up? Why didn't Qui-Gon Jinn get Force healed when he was stabbed to his stomach? That's the main thing, really.
Yeah.
The teleportation ability through the Force. Things like that.
That too.
Also, too, like the realism's not there. Oh, you go ahead, Aaron.
I was just gonna say, I think a better plot line was that Snoke was secretly Jar Jar Binks the whole time, and I'm not even joking when I say that. Like that would have been
so
really cool. Like Jar Jar Binks this whole time.
This, honestly.
That's what he's been doing. Like that's why he was pissing everybody off. He was just like,
that would have been better than this.
It was all just a front. That's how he fooled the Jedi. He made them think he was just a dumbass. Like, I'm not even joking when I say that would have been a lot cooler.
Honestly, Jar Jar, like they trying to say maybe like Jar Jar was actually mind controlling Palpatine the whole time as a cover up would have been better than what they did here.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe they'll do that with the new Rey.
Palpatine returned.
Maybe they'll do that with the new Rey movie.
I forgot about that. They are doing a Rey movie, aren't they?
Oh, they are? I thought they dropped that. No.
Nope, it's happening.
Damn.
No.
That's crazy.
See, here's the thing.
Okay.
Like, we didn't get a good Rey, right? No character development. You say something?
Also,
good? Or do you want to wrap it up?
I think
I'm ready to wrap it up when you are.
Okay.
Me too.
I'll stop.
This is my very final thing to say. Oh god! At the end of the movie, when Rey renounces her name as Palpatine and says she's Rey Skywalker, that goes against everything Anakin and Luke ever fought for. Like, it increases the amount of fear that the name Palpatine brings throughout the universe, the galaxy, and
I
she just,
that. That's crazy.
Adds onto it, and I think that's bullshit for her character, what they wanted her character to be, and for Luke and for Anakin. Anyways, period.
It would have
pin in it. No more.
It would have been so hard if she
I want to
said
say some more things.
Rey Palpatine.
Yeah, that would have been fucking badass, honestly. As much as I hate the movie,
that would have been cooler.
Cool. Yeah.
A review. I think you actually ever seen a guy who made a review that said that would have been better, right? He's saying like, "Oh, we're changing Palpatine's view." It's like, now I'm going to change the Palpatine name to be good. Would have been cooler than taking the name of Skywalker.
That's what I'm saying. It was bullshit. Because that would have completely erased everything Emperor Palpatine stood for. You know, he would have been rolling in his grave hearing Rey do good things under his name, and it would have made Anakin and Luke proud. Instead of increase the amount of fear of Palpatine's name, just read Harry Potter. You know, the power of name.
So yeah, guys, if you disagree with us, I really want to hear what you have to say in the comments.
Me too. I'm very curious.
We have a total open comment section, and I'm genuinely curious to see your guys' opinions.
Yeah, this is a very.
So please,
these two movies very controversial. Like everyone knows this.
No judgment in the comment section. I'll be happy to respond, and so will William and Aaron, I'm sure. And as we wrap this up, I just want to talk about Ahsoka for a second.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up.
I was going to ask you guys.
Because
I haven't watched Ahsoka.
Yeah, has not
so they're going to review it. There's kind of a trend going on, or if you guys haven't realized already, I haven't watched season 3 Mando. I haven't watched Ahsoka. After Obi Wan and Boba Fett, I was kind of like done with Star Wars for a little bit, so I haven't gotten caught up with the recent stuff. Even the stuff that's probably kind of decent, like Bad Batch and the Count Dooku, Ahsoka, I've just been burnt out.
Right. So I watched all of
away.
Ahsoka besides the last episode. I genuinely apologize. I probably should have watched that before we made this, but I liked Ahsoka, honestly. I thought that they were going in an interesting direction. I like that it kind of connected with Ezra and called back to Rebels. It was neat to see Thrawn again. It was also obviously cool to see the callback to the Clone Wars and to see a renewed and very full circle version of Anakin Skywalker and Hayden Christensen. Also, Rosario Dawson does a pretty good job at an older Ahsoka. I do like that casting. It's neat. Do I think it's needed? Not necessarily. But I also didn't watch the last episode, so I don't really want to put it above C tier. It's going to be a solid C tier for me, and if the last episode's really good, which I will get back to you in the comment section, maybe it moves to B tier or even A tier. I don't know. Probably not A tier, actually, but I'm going to toss it in C tier.
I'd like to ask...
I had a good time with it. It wasn't bad.
Gabe, I'd like to ask how Captain Rex was.
Captain Rex was barely in it. I'm pretty sure
it was just fan service.
He was just like in the background, like he said some shit to Ahsoka, but it was cool.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sad.
Yeah, it is a little sad, but we'll have to see for our own. I saw the first 2 episodes.
But yeah, I thought the villain was
Also,
neat. I did like the I forgot his name, the guy with the red lightsaber though. He was cool. He was a good
Oh yeah, the gray-haired guy. Gabe, I have to ask. Didn't they change the way the Force works? Like, didn't the Mandalorian girl? She's now Force sensitive. She like learned how to use the Force.
Who's the Mandalorian girl? Remind me.
I don't know her name, bro. She's got like the. She's in Rebels. She's got the Mandalorian armor.
Oh well, didn't that get changed in Rebels? Wasn't she able to like use the Force in Rebels?
I don't think so. I didn't think so. I'm pretty sure Ahsoka confirmed it.
Isn't
like
that
she learned to use the Force?
Yeah, she doesn't. It wasn't confirmed, and then they.
Yeah, Sabine. Yeah,
I don't think she did use the Force. She was assumed to not have the Force in Rebels, and then I think they changed it for the story for her to have the Force.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
and she like.
Maybe they did. I don't know.
But I know they changed it so that the Force can now be learned. Like that was a big thing. Like that's confirmed now, which I don't have a problem with. But
no, that's
definitely
stupid.
something to.
I do have a problem with that.
I do too. It's
okay,
especially if it's easy to learn. Because here's the issue: Disney Star Wars.
Okay, well that's different.
It doesn't take. You don't have to go to a temple and master unlock all 9 chakras. That takes 15 years to use the Force. You can just start flying your hands around, and all of a sudden you have the Force.
Well, that's completely different. If you can do that, then it's the dumbest existence known to man.
And that's how it's
something like
in this universe with Rey and I guess her too.
Okay, well, if it's been confirmed that the Force can be something that you develop over time with hard work ethic and extreme discipline, I think that'd be kind of neat. It'd be a really cool.
Well, that's how really thought it was before the Mandalorian count was thrown in there. But
I think it would it'd pull it into I don't know. I guess it takes it out of the fact that it's
you're undoing everything.
But it also
you're literally undoing lines in the movies.
Yeah.
Oh, he has a high Mandalorian count. You can't do that. It's annoying.
Yeah, I'm not down for that. Honestly, it just changes too much. Just make a new show. Make a new fucking universe.
Yeah, make a new space wizard franchise if you want to change things that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, here's our list. It obviously took a long time to get here. It's been a long ride. We obviously have a deep passion for Star Wars. There's been a lot of controversy and a lot of interesting things happening. So there was definitely a lot for us to talk about. let us know what you guys think of our lists. Are you guys satisfied with your lists?
I am, yeah. I'll share it with you guys. I don't quite know exactly where all you guys' points are, so after the recording, I'll
yeah.
take a little screenshot here and show it to you guys.
Yeah, same. All right, guys. So I hope you all very much enjoyed the video. Please leave your comments and your likes and all of that stuff down below. We really do want to hear what you guys have to say. And if you want to see us do any more tier lists like this, let us know that too, because we are really enjoying these types of videos, these podcast type things. And with that being said, do you guys have anything you want to add?
No. Like, if you're allowed to upload screenshots to the comment section, it'd be cool to see you guys' tier lists. But
yeah.
Let us know what you think. I hope we explain our points very well. Our reasons, like, again, especially with the newer stuff, we're not haters. If you do, maybe we miss things. Just let us know.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I'm always open to any other opinion that is differing from my own, so I know I speak for the guys as well.
I'd like to say, if you can't post your tier list in the comments, post them in our Discord. We all three have a Discord channel, although mine is very weak.
Yeah, go to our Discord and share it with us. I forgot
they're all in our bio. Just click in our bio,
Yeah.
or in the description, I should say.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks again for watching.
Bye-bye.
Like, subscribe.
We'll see you in the next one. We upload Minecraft videos. Go watch those, please.
Yes.
Please. I want to be a Minecraft YouTuber. Really badly.
Right, guys. Bye.
All right, bye.